Chapter 271. After devouring the beast spirit of a 3,400-year-old wolf, a golden line appeared on the little dragon's head for the first time. It had finally stepped into the ranks of the 1,000-year spiritual beasts. Awoo, the cry was still the same. The holy dragon who took the path of acting cute was really unbearable. Lin Muyu looked at the satisfied Acatosaurus on the ground and couldn't help but ask with a smile, "Little apple, your strength has once again made a qualitative leap. Show me, what is your ability now?" Acatosaurus turned over and got up from the ground. Awoo. It stomped its front feet on the ground, and its momentum seemed to have changed. The scales on its back stood up one by one, and actually formed a dragon armor blade. The next moment, the little dragon suddenly curled up its body, opened its mouth, and bit its tail, forming a circle on the ground and rolling on the ground. The dragon armor blade could be seen crushing the grass, trees, and even rocks into pieces. This was really too terrifying. Lin Muyu was shocked. Invincible. Invincible firestorm wheels? The little dragon stopped and happily nodded its head, as if it very much recognized this name. This was the second evolution of Acatosaurus. The first evolution gave it the ability Phantom Claw, and the second evolution gave it the invincible firestorm wheels. Moreover, it could be foreseen that once Acatosaurus reached adulthood and used the invincible firestorm wheels with its huge body, it would be simply a purgatory. Awoo, Acatosaurus, who had just entered the second evolution, seemed to be very tired. It needed to rest. Lin Muyu was a considerate master, and immediately waved her fist to split open a space crack, letting the little dragon in to sleep and grow. After eating the last piece of meat in her hand, Lin Muyu stood up, and her whole body was filled with combat energy again. She could run all the way again. Although the Fallen Star Steps was fast and could run for about 500 miles in one go, it consumed too much of her physical strength. However, she had no choice. After all, the dragon tomb was too far away. Even at full speed, it would take 3 to 4 days to get there. She didn't know how Tang Xiaoxi was doing now. She hoped that she wouldn't meet a human. After all, in the form of a 9-tailed demon fox, no matter how beautiful she was, she would probably scare away a lot of people. After running for more than 500 miles, the sky darkened again, and it was night again. Lin Muyu slowly slowed down. She needed to rest for a while. Her physical strength and combat energy were about to be exhausted, and her legs felt like they were filled with lead. She couldn't run anymore. However, just when she stopped, she suddenly heard the sound of hooves from afar. After a few seconds, a group of people appeared in her field of vision. It was a group of wandering mercenaries, and there were about 50 of them. Although they were dressed like mercenaries, their armor was brand new, and their weapons were excellent. The horses they were riding on were also very sturdy. They didn't look like mercenaries at all. Not good. Lin Muyu didn't have time to dodge, and she was already in the sight of the mercenaries. The most frightening thing was that she couldn't move her legs anymore. The terrifying state of the Fallen Star Steps had come, and her entire body's combat energy and physical strength had entered a state of exhaustion. She needed at least half an hour to recover. "There's someone there." A group of mercenaries suddenly pointed their weapons at Lin Muyu and shouted, "Catch him." They had horses, so they definitely couldn't run away. Lin Muyu stopped running. She held the dragon spirit sword in her hand and smiled as she looked at the group of people rushing up the hill and surrounding her. Her eyes were filled with confidence and arrogance as she said, "What do you want?" The mercenary in the lead was a man with a long beard. He was very sturdy, and he held a heavy battle axe in his hand. Moreover, this axe had a faint hint of soul refining in it. It was a mysterious rank axe, and although this man tried his best to hide his cultivation, Lin Muyu could still sense the surging combat energy in his body with the spirit pulse technique. The other dozens of mercenaries were also not ordinary people. Most of them were people with Earth Realm cultivation. This group of people was definitely not as simple as wandering mercenaries. Lin Muyu felt a chill from the bottom of her heart. She secretly lamented that her luck was too bad. The mercenary in the lead lowered his axe and came to Lin Muyu's side. He spurred his horse around and smiled. This armor is not bad. If I'm not wrong, this is the attire of the Holy Temple in the capital. I wonder, who are you in the Holy Temple? You actually have a golden badge and the rank of Chiliarch. They came with ill intentions. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said in an imposing manner that did not lose to her opponent, I'm Ma Lin, a gold star instructor of the Holy Temple. I entered the dragon-seeking forest to cultivate by myself this time. Who are you? The man laughed and lifted the battle axe on his shoulder. He said, I'm Li Jingxi, the leader of the Violet Mercenary Group in Lanyan City. Heh. Lord Holy Temple, since we've met here, why don't we have a drink or two? Since it's getting cold, why don't you set up camp with us? Lin Muyu's gaze was indifferent. You want to rob someone from the Holy Temple? No, we don't have the guts. Li Jingxi laughed and said, You're too cautious, Lord. We, the Violet Mercenary Group, are all heroes who fight for justice. Someone, give this lord a horse and help him carry a weapon. Yes. A mercenary led a skinny horse over and stretched out his hand. Lord, may I help you carry a weapon? Lin Muyu scanned the group of people with clear eyes. She noticed that many of them were injured. There was even a person at the back with a broken arm. Even the strongest person in the group, Li Jingxi, was injured. Although he was wearing a battle knee brace made of cowhide, blood was seeping out of his gray pants. Seeing this, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. The reason why these people didn't make a move now was probably because they didn't have full confidence. After all, none of the gold stars in the Holy Temple were easy to deal with. She could not lose her momentum. She was also at the end of her rope and needed time to rest. At this time, she could only rely on her momentum to find a chance to survive. She raised her hand and handed the dragon soul sword to the mercenary. Take care of it. Yes, Lord. Mounting the horse, Lin Muyu fastened her cloak and said, Where are you going to camp today, Commander Li? From the looks of it, you must have just killed a powerful spirit beast. Li Jingxi knew he could not deceive her. He nodded and said, Yes, we met a 6,400-year-old bear of earth on the way. I lost dozens of men to injure it, but the bear of earth still left with heavy injuries. If that's the case. An idea came to Lin Muyu and she smiled. Then we'll rest for the night. Tomorrow, we'll find this bear of earth. Li Jingxi was taken aback. Lord, aren't you afraid of a 6,400-year-old spirit beast? What's there to be afraid of about a mere beast? Lin Muyu's momentum was astonishing. She smiled and said, We'll find the bear of earth's lair tomorrow. All you need to do is watch. Good, that's great. With a faint smile on her face, Lin Muyu continued to ask, I wonder, why did Commander Li bring your mercenary brothers so deep into the dragon-seeking forest? There shouldn't be anything you want here. If it was a mercenary mission, you wouldn't have to go so deep. Li Jingxi was taken aback. He was stumped by Lin Muyu's question. He scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. I'm ashamed to say this. We originally planned to go to Seven Seas City, but we got lost in the dragon-seeking forest. Lin Muyu thought to herself, who are you trying to fool? Seven Seas City is north of the imperial capital. This place is almost south of the imperial capital. Even if you got lost, you wouldn't get lost to such an absurd extent, right? However, he didn't expose her. After all, he was living under someone else's roof. He was relying on his momentum to support himself. If the opponent were to make things difficult for him, he wouldn't have it easy either. His body glowed with a faint golden light. The golden gourd martial spirit was slowly absorbing the spirit qi between heaven and earth to replenish his consumed do qi. At the same time, his stamina was recovering. When Li Jingxi and the others found a cliff to set up camp, Lin Muyu's do qi and stamina had completely recovered. However, she wasn't in a hurry to make a move. She had to figure out who this group of people were first. For bonfires were lit under the cliff. The group surrounded the bonfires and began to cook soup. The accompanying warhorses carried some spirit beast corpses on their backs. They cut off the meat and cooked the soup. Not long after, the aroma filled the air. There was even a deer roasting on one of the bonfires. This group of people's lives were too extravagant. Not long after, Li Jingxi brought over a large jar of wine. He smiled and said, "Sir Ma Lin, it's warm and cold. Drink to warm your body. Let's drink until we're drunk." All right. Drinking was good. When a person was drunk, they would be the most relaxed. This was the best time for Lin Muyu to use the mind-reading ability derived from the spirit pulse technique to find out what these people were thinking. Soon, everyone was already drunk. However, Li Jingxi didn't drink much. He spat out most of the wine into the towel that he used to wipe his mouth. He was really a wine expert. Lin Muyu smiled silently. She slowly extended the spirit pulse technique and seeped into Li Jingxi's eye. Soon, she heard a voice saying, "I really can't see the depth of this brat's cultivation. Damn it, we've been ordered to hunt down Tang Xiaoxi. I don't know if we'll succeed. Once we get this brat drunk, we'll kill him. We can't let this bullsh T Ma Lin ruin our mission." However, what exactly was the mission? He refused to say it no matter what. Lin Muyu was a little anxious. After waiting for a while, she finally read Li Jingxi's eye again. Is Tang Xiaoxi really that important? Seriously, Her Highness gave us this kind of mission. We don't have many people lurking in the capital. We haven't even seen Tang Xiaoxi and we've already lost so many people. She even told us to be careful and not ruin Shenhe's plan. Damn it. After we finish the mission, it's time to ask Her Highness to send more people to us. She also needs to reward us more, huh? Who was this Her Highness? Lin Muyu frowned. Could it be that this group of people was sent by Qin Yin? That couldn't be right. If Qin Yin really sent more people, she would have come herself. Where did this group of people come from? However, he didn't have time to continue reading Li Jingxi's mind. After a look from Li Jingxi, 4 mercenaries had already surrounded them. Each of them had their hands on the hilt of their swords. They didn't come with good intentions. Chapter 272. This group of people were definitely not ordinary mercenaries. While they were drinking and eating, they didn't speak a single word. Rather than saying that they were mercenaries, it would be better to say that they were regular soldiers with strict discipline. Furthermore, their gazes were not filled with the greed and arrogance of mercenaries, but with restraint and fortitude. At this moment, 4 people surrounded Lin Muyu. Li Jingxi held a wine glass in one hand and a sword hilt in the other. He smiled and said, "Lord Ma Lin, you've drunk too much. Come, let us brothers send you on your way." Clang. Li Jingxi held the sword hilt upside down and suddenly raised his hand to pull out the blade. The blade turned into a bolt of lightning and swept upwards towards Lin Muyu's side. At the same time, the surrounding 4 people also pulled out their swords and stabbed forward. This kind of tacit understanding wasn't something that ordinary mercenaries could have. One could imagine how many unguarded experts they had killed using this method. However, Lin Muyu wasn't one of them. A golden light suddenly bloomed from Lin Muyu's body. The golden gourd walls came out of her body and protected her body. After a few dang sounds, the 5 longswords were all deflected. At the same time, Lin Muyu leaped up and opened her hand. Flames lingered around it as the dragon spirit sword on the horse's back was quickly unsheathed. Pooh! With the imperial sword technique, the dragon spirit's sword pierced through a mercenary's abdomen. Lin Muyu's right hand controlled the dragon spirit's sword in the air while her left arm was surrounded by the true dragon aura. With 2 peng sounds, the other 2 mercenaries were pushed back. Taking advantage of the fact that Li Jingxi couldn't open his eyes due to the sunlight, she lifted her leg and gave him a heavy kick. Immediately, Li Jingxi covered his abdomen and retreated with a face full of shock. Swoosh, the demonic noise saber pierced through the air. Lin Muyu was multitasking. The invisible demonic noise saber quickly attacked and killed several people. At the same time, she controlled the dragon spirit sword to continue the slaughter. Her true dragon arm also didn't stop attacking the surrounding mercenaries. Kill him. Attack together. Use your bows and arrows. Li Jingxi shouted as he retreated. However, the arrows were unable to kill Lin Muyu. The defensive ability of the Golden Gourd walls was extraordinarily tyrannical. Lin Muyu flew through the crowd like a whirlwind, her killing intent surging. In the blink of an eye, the dragon spirit sword was already covered in blood, while the demonic noise saber danced formlessly in the crowd. In the blink of an eye, the necks of several people wielding longbows were cut into pieces. Bang! A loud boom erupted from behind her. Li Jingxi had unleashed an attack imbued with his scorching battle chi, and Lin Muyu shuddered involuntarily. At the same time, the walls of the gourd finally shattered, and the sharp arrows bounced off her suit of battle armor. Lin Muyu had killed over a dozen people in the blink of an eye, but she had also expended over half of her battle chi. His suit of battle armor quickly dissipated, and he was at a huge disadvantage in a one-on-one battle. Puff, puff, in the instant that his battle armor had shattered, he had been struck by 2 arrows on his back. Even though the arrows had only pierced a few centimeters into his flesh through his suit of battle armor, it was still an excruciating pain that reduced his strength by at least 30%. To catch bandits, first catch their leader. Lin Muyu rushed toward Li Jingxi and raised her hand to unleash a punch. Chaos of the lives. Lin Muyu's strength was already above Li Jingxi's, and she also had the 7 luminaries' profound energy. She instantly shattered Li Jingxi's sword, and the dragon spirit sword swept past, slicing the battle axe that Li Jingxi had just raised in half. Her punch still landed squarely on Li Jingxi's chest, and the sound of ribs breaking could be heard clearly. Ugh, Li Jingxi threw up a mouthful of blood, and there was no way he could struggle. Lin Muyu grabbed him with one hand, and she leaped onto a fine horse. She then slashed the reins and spurred the horse away. Behind them, a group of mercenaries also mounted their horses and chased after them. Lin Muyu put Li Jingxi on the horse's back, turned around, and unleashed a demonic sound fist. Immediately, a mercenary groaned and fell to the ground, killed on the spot. In the end, Lin Muyu spun around 3 times, and 3 mercenaries with high cultivation bases were killed by the demonic sonic fists imbued with battle energy. Li Jingxi, who was on horseback, spat out a mouthful of blood as he shouted, "Stop chasing, let's hurry back to the imperial capital and report to the special envoy. The person who killed me is Lin Muyu." The group of mercenaries turned around and left without hesitation. Lin Muyu was also worried that they would chase after them, so she brought Li Jingxi and ran for dozens of miles before stopping. She lifted him up and threw him under an ancient tree. She said coldly, "Tell me, who are you people?" Li Jingxi's mouth was full of blood, and he laughed loudly. "I actually didn't recognize that you were Lin Muyu, I admit it. But you want to get anything out of me? Dream on." Lin Muyu suddenly pressed the dragon spirit sword against his neck, and said coldly, "Are you going to tell me or not?" Li Jingxi gritted his teeth and forcefully pushed his body forward. With a pu sound, the sharp dragon spirit sword directly pierced through his throat. Lin Muyu's eyes were indifferent. If he died, then he died. This kind of person's death was not to be regretted, but it was a pity that she didn't get anything out of him. She didn't know where these mercenaries came from. They looked like people from the army, but who in the Empire's army would make a move against an instructor from the Golden Star Temple? Could it be that this group of people were from the Divine Might Battalion? It didn't seem like it. Most of the soldiers from the Divine Might Battalion used long blades, and they used the military blade technique passed down by Xiang Wentian, wind blade technique. But this group of people mostly used swords, and their sword techniques were very strange and tricky. After searching Li Jingxi's corpse, she didn't find anything. This group of people seemed to have done a very good job in keeping secrets. If it wasn't for the mind-reading ability of the spirit pulse technique, she probably wouldn't even be able to find any clues. She rested beside Li Jingxi's corpse for a while, but she accidentally fell asleep. When Lin Muyu woke up, it was already dawn. It was another new day. After eating, she quickly galloped towards the southern forest. The dragon's tomb was getting closer and closer. In about a day, she would arrive there, but she didn't know what kind of things she would encounter. In the southwest direction of the dragon-seeking forest, the sound of hooves galloping could be heard. Tang Bin led over 1,007 city soldiers and galloped forward. After being attacked by spirit beasts 3 more times, the number of people in 7 Seas City was greatly reduced, and there were less than 1,200 people left. Although Tang Bin was furious, there was nothing he could do. There were many powerful spirit beasts in the dragon-seeking forest, and if humans accidentally stepped into the territory of these spirit beasts, they would be attacked. After all, spirit beasts also understood the importance of territory. Those who dared to enter their territory were either enemies or food. There was no third possibility. After Elder Jing died, Tang Bin had been deeply worried. While speeding up the march, he was also worried about what kind of spirit beasts they would encounter next. And these Tang sect soldiers who came from 7 Seas City were already exhausted. The appearance of spirit beasts made them exhausted. Moreover, they didn't know where Tang Xiaoxi was at all. This trip didn't seem like they were looking for someone, but more like they were looking for death in the dragon-seeking forest. This dragon-seeking forest probably hadn't been this lively for several hundred years. It was simply like a feast for the long-lived spirit beasts. Not long after, a scout galloped over and said respectfully, "Young master, we found a group of people in front of us. They came from Lanyan City." "People from the imperial capital?" Tang Bin raised his eyebrows. "Is it the imperial army or the imperial army?" "Neither, it's the Divine Might Battalion's army. It seems that Divine Marquis Xing Yifan is also among them." "Xing Yifan is here too?" Tang Bin nodded and muttered, "Is Xing Yifan here to find Xiaoxi or to kill Xiaoxi?" The scout shook his head. "I don't know." "How many people do they have?" "About 400 people, not too many." "They're already here." "Young master, we can't hide anymore." "Is that so?" Tang Bin waved his hand and said, "Everyone be on guard, prepare for battle." "Yes." The group of Tang sect soldiers unsheathed their weapons one after another. Behind them, many people took out longbows from the backs of their horses. If this was a real battle, the cavalry might not be as useful as the archers. After all, this wasn't an open field, and the warhorses couldn't increase their speed to the speed of a charge. Moreover, it was inconvenient for them to move around, so it was better to abandon their horses and use bows instead. This group of people were the elites of the Tang sect army. Naturally, they were very skilled in horsemanship, archery, and swordsmanship. Not long after, a group of people slowly approached from afar. They were carrying the flag of the Divine Might Battalion, and Xing Yifan was at the front of the group. He rode over on his horse and smiled. "I was wondering who it was." "So it's the young master of the Tang family." Tang Bin also smiled and said respectfully, "So it's the Marquis." "I wonder, is the Divine Might Battalion also searching for Xiaoxi's whereabouts in the Dragon Forest?" Xing Yifan nodded. "The nine-tailed demon fox kidnapped Princess Xi. His Majesty is anxious, so he ordered me to lead the Divine Might Battalion into the Dragon Forest to search for Princess Xi." "Young Master Tang Bin, please don't be impatient. Princess Xi is blessed by the heavens, so she'll definitely be fine." Tang Bin smiled. "Thank you for your kind words, Marquis. Do you know where Xiaoxi is? Or, where did the nine-tailed demon fox kidnap Xiaoxi?" Xing Yifan stroked his beard and said, "Princess Xi once went to the dragon tomb in the south of the dragon-seeking forest with Her Highness Een for an adventure. If I'm not mistaken, Princess Xi might be in the dragon tomb now." "I see." Tang Bin frowned and said, "Then please lead the way, Marquis. We'll go to the dragon tomb together. At least we can look after each other." "That's fine." Xing Yifan nodded. "If we stay together, we can better deal with the unknown spiritual beasts in the dragon forest. However, I've already lost a lot of troops, but young master still has more than 1,000 troops. Why don't young master clear the path in front? What a cunning old fox." Tang Bin cursed in his heart. He gritted his teeth and said, "Why don't we do it this way? Let's go side by side. What do you think?" "That's good too." Maybe we'll be able to find Princess She earlier this way. Dragon-shaped valley was a valley in the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. There were hunters in the valley who made a living by hunting small wild beasts. This place was filled with outstanding people and was surrounded by cliffs. Only a small path in the valley could lead people in and out of the valley, creating a beautiful scene of paradise. Even though this valley was located in the depths of the dragon-seeking forest, the hunters in the valley were safe and sound. In a simple and crude courtyard, a rustling sound came from a fence made of bamboo branches. Clothes that were being hung to dry slid off the bamboo poles with a shwa-shwa sound. Inside the fence, a beautiful young girl was lying on the ground. Her skin was as white as snow and her figure was graceful. However, the 9 slightly swaying fiery red tails behind her looked exceptionally bewitching. She quickly put on a long dress, but unfortunately, the tails behind her were swaying unwillingly inside her clothes. This made her a little speechless and she could not help but smile faintly. However, at this moment, a child about 3 or 4 years old stood outside and asked in a tender voice, "Excuse me, are you a thief? Why did you steal mother's clothes?" The young girl stared at him in shock. Suddenly, she leaped out of the fence and disappeared into the forest after a few leaps. Chapter 273. The cold wind blew through the forest. It was early in the morning and they were only 300 miles away from the dragon's tomb. With the speed of the heavy cavalry, they could reach the dragon's tomb before nightfall. However, the journey was full of hardships and everyone seemed to be exhausted. Many of the soldiers were even infected with diseases, causing their combat power to decrease sharply. Zheng Yifan frowned and gripped the reins tightly. He glanced to the right and saw Tang Bin approaching on horseback. He cupped his fists and smiled. "Divine Marquis, many of the soldiers in the Divine Might Battalion are infected with diseases. In my opinion. Divine Marquis, why don't we set up camp here and let the soldiers gather information? As for the scouting ahead, let's leave it to the soldiers of Qihai City. What do you think?" Zheng Yifan hesitated for a moment, then said, "This is already the deepest part of the dragon-seeking forest. It's not like the outskirts, where there are many 10,000-year-old spiritual beasts. Young master, please think thrice before you act. This old man may be old, but I can still lend young master a hand." Tang Bin, on the other hand, had a different idea in his mind. He wanted to be the first to enter the dragon's tomb to find Tang Xiaoxi. If it was Tang Xiaoxi in her 9-tailed demon fox form, then he would kill her on the spot. Naturally, the fewer people who knew about this, the better. The elites of 7 Seas City that accompanied him were all his trusted aides. However, if Zheng Yifan knew about this, then it would be equivalent to giving him a handle. This was something Tang Bin absolutely did not want to see. Tang Bin cupped his fists and smiled. "Thank you for your kindness, Divine Marquis. However, I'm leading the elites of Qihai City. I believe that even if we encounter a 10,000-year spiritual beast, we will be able to escape safely. The most important thing is to find Xiaoxi as soon as possible. If that's the case, I won't say anything more." Zheng Yifan pondered for a moment. But what?" Tang Bin asked. Zheng Yifan smiled and said, "However, this old man had once trained in this area about 10 years ago. There are 2 roads leading to the dragon's tomb from here. One is the Wuxia Valley, and the other is the Green Summit Ridge. This old man suggests that young master take the Green Summit Ridge. That place is only occupied by a group of swift wolves. As for the Wuxia Valley, this old man has personally seen a flaming ironback bear that has lived there for more than 10,000 years. Thank you, Divine Marquis, I understand, then." Tang Bin turned his horse around and smiled. "Our 7 Seas City will depart first. Divine Marquis Divine Might Battalion, please bring up the rear." "Of course, young master, please be careful." "Thank you, you too." Tang Bin rode his horse back to the 7 Seas City camp, loudly ordering, "Full speed ahead." The sound of horse hooves thundered, and the more than 1,000 people of 7 Seas City began to run, disappearing into the depths of the forest in the blink of an eye. Zheng Yifan squinted his eyes and looked into the distance, smiling. Have a safe journey, young master. Sikong Nan smiled faintly. Marquis has pointed out a path for young Master Tang, but I don't know if they're willing to take it, but... Marquis, was that iron-back bear that was more than 10,000 years old made up by you to deceive that kid Tang Bin? Zheng Yifan lightly waved his robe sleeves and lightly said, When have you ever seen me, Zheng Yifan, deceive anyone? Sikong Nan was stunned, but his heart was in turmoil. He thought to himself, perhaps this is the legendary, the art of war is deceitful. Among the constantly galloping cavalry, Tang Hao, a Tang family clansman whose strength was second only to Tang Bin, carried a broadsword, his face full of caution as he asked, Young master, Zheng Yifan suggested that we go through the green summit ridge. Which path do you think we should take? Tang Bin squinted his eyes. Zheng Yifan, that old fox, since he pointed out that there is a 10,000-year-old ironback bear in the Wuxia Valley, I don't believe him and insist on going through the Wuxia Valley. The art of war is deceitful, the truth is false, the falsehood is true. This Zheng Yifan's words cannot be trusted, but we must also believe him. Both the Green Summit Ridge and the Wuxia Valley may be occupied by 10,000-year-old spiritual beasts. Tell everyone to be careful and send scouts to scout ahead. This subordinate understands. Tang Hao lowered his broadsword, rays of Do Qi appeared on the blade. He was a powerhouse who had just stepped into the first level of the Heaven Realm. Although he was over 40 years old, he was highly valued and was also the person closest to Tang Bin in the family. Now that Elder Jing was dead, Tang Hao had become Tang Bin's most trusted general. Young master, Tang Hao suddenly wanted to say something but stopped. Uncle Hao, what's wrong? Is there something wrong? Tang Bin asked in surprise. Tang Hao's eyes flickered as he looked at the grass that kept retreating under the hooves of the horses and said, Young master, Xiao Shi is your biological cousin. Can we consider not killing Xiao Shi, as long as she agrees not to fight with you for the inheritance of Seven Seas City? This matter, Tang Bin laughed. Uncle Hao, I know that you watched me and Xiao Shi grow up together and have feelings for us, so I won't make things difficult for you. As long as Xiao Yin isn't a nine-tailed demon fox, I won't do anything to her. After all, I've loved this little sister very much since I was young. This is something that Uncle Hao can also see. Then what if Xiao Shi is a nine-tailed demon fox? Those who are not of our clan must have a different heart. Killing intent flashed across Tang Bin's eyes as he said, This can only mean that she's not a member of our Tang family. Since she's not a member of the Tang family, then just kill her. Tang Hao sighed. Yes, this subordinate will obey young master's orders. Tang Bin and Tang Xiaoxi were both direct descendants of Tang Lan, while Tang Hao was a direct descendant of Duke Lan's elder brother. It was precisely because of this that he didn't have a very high status in the clan. At the very least, he couldn't be compared to Tang Bin, Tang Lu, Tang Wei, and Tang Xiaoxi. To be able to become a personal attendant was already a great fortune. Those with low cultivation could only be reduced to maids or attendants. Wuxia Valley. Spring was warm and flowers were in full bloom. The entire mountain was blooming with white flowers. For light cavalry scouts passed through the Wuxia Valley. Both sides of the valley were filled with winding paths. It was impossible to see if there were any ambushes. They had no choice but to use their spears to randomly stab the grass. Every so often, a few poisonous snakes would jump out with a pu sound. However, for cultivators, poisonous snakes were simply child's play. They were only afraid of 1,000-year or 10,000-year poisonous snakes like the dragon snake. The length of the Wuxia Valley was less than a mile. After a round trip, the scouts all came out of the valley and reported to Tang Bin, Young master, there are only a few poisonous snakes in the Wuxia Valley. There's nothing wrong with it. Tang Bin nodded and laughed. Zhi Yifan thinks he can scare me. He's simply dreaming. Let's go through the Wuxia Valley. We must reach the dragon's tomb before dusk. Yes. Tang Bin, Tang Hao, and the rest of the Tang family entered the Wuxia Valley. The sound of 1,200 heavy cavalry's hooves shook the entire valley. Obviously, this kind of power was not something the 4 light cavalry scouts could compare to. At this time, in one of the caves of the Loch Valley, a gigantic creature slowly woke up from its slumber after being jolted by the hooves of the heavy cavalry. It opened its fiery red eyes and patted its flat abdomen. There wasn't a lot of food throughout the winter, and it had been starving for many days. It seemed like it was welcoming another delicious meal. Roar! The flaming ironback bear's roar echoed in the valley. In the next moment, this big guy that was at least 3 meters tall suddenly jumped out of the cave. Its sharp claws pounced on a huge rock. Its entire body was enshrouded in raging flames. It stared at the group of people passing through the valley a few meters away. Without saying a word, it pounced down and bit the head of a 7 Seas City heavy cavalry. After spitting out the helmet, it began to chew vigorously. At the same time, it swept its palms across and cut open the stomachs of 2 other heavy cavalry. Beast! A Tang family member at the 3rd layer of the Earth realm roared angrily. He raised his iron spear and charged over. His arm trembled, and a spear light shot out. The tip of the spear went straight for the flaming ironback bear's eyes. Unfortunately, this flaming ironback bear had a total of 11 golden lines and 4 silver lines on its forehead. This was a 10,000-year ferocious beast. The invisible flames around its eyes directly shattered the iron spear. In a rage, the ironback bear pounced forward. Its sharp claws were astonishingly fast, and it suddenly swept diagonally. The wind from its claws was scorching hot, and it actually directly tore the Earth Realm 3rd layer clansman into 2 halves. His body was a bloody mess, and he didn't even have time to scream. Everyone was dumbfounded. At this time, Tang Bin, Tang Hao, and the rest had also returned. Looking at the surrounded ironback bear, they gritted their teeth and shouted, "Bows, arrows, spears, do your best to distance yourself. We'll be able to kill this 10,000-year ferocious beast once we break its ferocious chi." As he said that, Tang Bin opened his arms, and the fire fox marshal's soul darted around his shoulders. A fire fox seal broke through the air. Pung! Star sacrificial seal. The fire fox seal smashed heavily into the ironback bear's forehead, but it only sent out powerful flames and fragments of ferocious chi. It didn't really hurt the ironback bear. Instead, the ironback bear charged forward ferociously, and with its claws and bites, it killed a few more spear-wielding soldiers. Arrows fell like rain from all directions, but how could they break the ferocious chi of a 10,000-year ferocious beast? Tang Bin kept a distance from the ironback bear, and he used the fire fox seal again and again. He was the only expert at the peak of the 1st layer of the Heaven Realm, and also the only person who had cultivated the fire fox seal to the 7th layer. The 5 chi seals in his hand spun rapidly, and they bombarded the ironback bear's head. Finally, after nearly 100 people were killed or injured, the ferocious chi of the ironback bear was broken. Spears, bows and arrows. Tang Hao ordered loudly, but the ironback bear was a spirit beast race known for its defense. Its fur was as hard as iron, and it actually broke the spears in half. As for the arrows, they couldn't even hurt it in the slightest. On the other hand, the attacks of the crowd made the ironback bear almost go berserk. Its body was covered in flames, and it charged back and forth among the crowd. In less than 20 minutes, the 1,200 Tang clan soldiers led by Tang Bin had been killed by the ironback bear, and only less than 400 people were left. The valley was filled with broken limbs and bodies, and the ironback bear had launched a few flame attacks, burning quite a few people into a pile of ashes. The scene was simply too horrible to look at. The ironback bear had paid a heavy price as well. Its entire body was covered in blood, and its iron-like skin was lacerated. More than a dozen arrows had pierced through its eyes. It was only relying on the aura of a human to kill its prey. On the peak of the Wuxia Valley, a handsome young man lay quietly on top of a green rock. He was just sensing the battle in the valley with his spirit sense. Who else could it be other than Lin Muyu? Chapter 274. Tang Bin had his own ulterior motives and had long wanted to kill Tang Xiaoxi, so Lin Muyu naturally wouldn't help him. He wished that this flaming ironback bear could live up to his expectations and kill all of Tang Bin's men. Unfortunately, even though the flaming ironback bear was a 10,000-year-old spiritual beast, it couldn't withstand a battle of attrition. After about 30 minutes, this 10,000-year-old spiritual beast that had lived in the Loch Valley for thousands of years finally reached the end of its life. Its body was riddled with holes as it howled miserably, crushing countless little white flowers. Perhaps it wasn't an exaggeration, because it was already dyed red with blood. The entire Loch Valley was filled with corpses, and the cries of the injured were endless. Lin Muyu quietly watched everything that happened in front of her from the top of a huge rock. She suddenly leaped up and left the Loch Valley after a few lightning bolts. She had to reach the dragon's tomb as soon as possible. It was just a coincidence that she met Tang Bin's group here, so there was no need to follow them. In the valley, there were broken limbs and bodies everywhere, and the injured were constantly howling. Tang Bin carried his blood-stained sword and walked among the crowd. His gaze was cold as he muttered, We still fell for that old fox Xin Yifan's tricks. Tang Hao said helplessly, Moreover, we can't even talk about it. Even if we reason with him, we'll only become a laughingstock. Tang Bin clenched his teeth. One day, this old fox will pay for his cunning today. Yes. Tang Bin stepped on the ironback bear's corpse and pierced his sword into its skull, digging out the 1,100-year-old ironback bear's spiritual stone. Suddenly, a warm energy flowed into his palm. This was a fire-type spiritual stone, and it was one of the more precious spiritual stones of various attributes. The fire-type spiritual stone's power was surging, and its fire-type attack was also relatively high, so it was the favorite of most cultivators. Tang Bin silently put the spiritual stone in his pocket, then looked around and said, Those who can get on the horses, get on them immediately. We'll leave this place and leave a small number of people to take care of the injured. The smell of blood will only attract stronger spiritual beasts to hunt us down. The injured will return to Seven Seas City, and the rest will follow me to the dragon's tomb. Tang Hao was stunned. Young master. If the injured move alone, I'm afraid they'll all be killed if they encounter any spiritual beasts. Are we really going to abandon the injured? Uncle Hao. Tang Bin turned around and coldly looked at him, saying, Xiaoxi is a descendant of the Tang family who possesses the fire fox martial spirit. Moreover, she has already refined the fire fox seal. Xiaoxi's life is more important than the lives of 1,000 ordinary family servants. You should understand this, right? Tang Hao nodded silently. Yes. After regrouping, about 150 members of the Tang clan mounted their horses and quickly left the Wuxia Valley. As for the nearly 300 injured people who were left behind, the only fate that awaited them was death. The Wuxia Valley was located in the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. Spiritual beasts that were over 5,000 years old could be found everywhere in the surroundings. There was no way for them to leave. The dragon's tomb was the place where the ancient dragons buried themselves. The dragon clan was the closest existence to the gods, and they were also one of the few spiritual beasts that possessed high intelligence. When every dragon felt that their life had come to an end, most would choose to come to the dragon's tomb to quietly sleep and die. This was the most peaceful way for them to leave. That was why the dragon's tomb was located in the deepest part of the dragon-seeking forest. Right now, there were piles of dragon bones everywhere. There were low-level dragons, and there were also spiritual dragons. However, these piles of bones were left on the ground, and later generations had no way of telling how glorious the owners of these bones were when they were still alive. Lin Muyu spurred his horse past, holding the dragon spirit sword in his hand. He silently took out a bottle of spirit concentration elixir and drank it. This way, he could resist the miasma in the dragon's tomb without using his fighting energy. When he arrived at the periphery of the dragon's tomb, he tied his horse outside the forest and walked into the forest with his sword in hand. In the distance, the piles of dragon bones glowed with a faint golden light under the setting sun. Lin Muyu stepped into the dragon's tomb step by step. He quickly extended his spirit pulse technique to search for auras and living beings in the dragon's tomb. However, what troubled him the most was that the spiritual energy in the dragon's tomb was too strong. Furthermore, the piles of dragon bones also contained dragon power, which greatly interfered with the searching effect of the spirit pulse technique. As a result, the spirit pulse technique was practically useless in a place like this. Xiaoxi, where the hell are you? He frowned and his cloak, which was stained with blood, fluttered gently in the night wind. He walked alone in the dragon's tomb, as if he was a visitor from afar, admiring the majesty of the dragon clan. At this moment, in the north of the dragon's tomb, the team led by Qin Yin, Chu Chu, and Feng Jixing was moving forward slowly. The dragon's tomb is about 200 kilometers away. Chu Chu frowned and asked, "Your Highness, are you sure you want to enter the dragon's tomb?" In the night wind, Qin Yin's beautiful hair was a little messy, and her face was filled with fatigue. She was too tired. She only slept for about 4 hours a day after circling around the dragon forest. Although Feng Jixing, Chu Chu, and the others suggested that they set up camp and rest at night, Qin Yin insisted on continuing the search. Fortunately, there was Chu Chu, a sanctuary powerhouse, and Feng Jixing's method of making noise and scaring them, so the strength of the team was very intact. "Chu, we must find Xiaoxi." Qin Yin bit her rosy lips and murmured, "Xiaoxi, she. Xiaoxi has never needed me as much as she needs me now. I can't abandon her. Even if I lose my life in the dragon forest, I won't regret it." "Your Highness," Chu Chu wanted to say something but stopped. "Chu, just say what you want to say." "It's fine," Qin Yin said softly. Chu Chu cupped his fists and said, "Forgive me for being blunt, but the awakening of the nine-tailed fox demon in Princess Xi's body is a very unexpected thing. It's enough for your Highness to lead us to this place. To be frank, your Highness's life is much more important than Princess Xi's. Your life concerns the rise and fall of this mainland and the fate of the people in the world. Are you really willing to disregard the world for Tang Xiaoxi?" Qin Yin suddenly stopped her horse in shock and stood there, her beautiful eyes filled with tears. After a long time, she lowered her head and rubbed away the tears in her eyes. She smiled and said, "The people in the world are important, but so is Xiaoxi. I'll treat it as Qin Yin being willful for once. This time, if I don't find Xiaoxi, I won't leave Lanyan City." Chu Chu nodded in pain. "Yes, your Highness. I will follow your Highness." Feng Jixing held his wind cutter and pretended not to hear these words, but his eyes were full of praise. Perhaps only this kind of Qin Yin was worthy of his following. Dragon's Tomb, it was the Dragon's Tomb again. Everyone had finally arrived here. At dusk, Tang Bin led 150 Tang clansmen to the periphery of the Dragon's Tomb. They rode in directly. Tang Hao was experienced and sniffed the air. He said, "There's miasma here. Everyone, protect yourselves. Tie the horses outside the forest. Don't let them die in the miasma. Otherwise, our return time will be several times longer." Tang Bin nodded. "Yes." Just as they were tying the horses, a clansman suddenly pointed at a horse in the distance and said, That's Tang Ning's horse. Gosh, that demon, Lin Wuyu, has also entered the dragon's tomb." Tang Bin's face was full of killing intent. "Let's go. This will be even easier. We'll take care of Lin Wuyu while we're at it. Men, put poison arrows on your bows. If there's a chance, just call out." The group of clansmen nodded. Tang Bin also wanted to kill. Otherwise, he wouldn't be willing to use poison arrows. Although the Seven Seas city's poison was not unparalleled in the world, it could be considered famous. Fire foxes were originally a type of vicious beast, so the Tang clan was proficient in refining fire poison. Smearing fire poison on the arrowheads could cause the fire poison to attack the heart in a short period of time. If it was light, they would be unable to take care of themselves. If it was heavy, they would bleed from all 7 orifices and die. A large group of people entered the dragon's tomb in a grandiose manner. One by one, they summoned their martial spirits. However, most of them were not fire fox martial spirits. There were many types of martial spirits. In the entire Seven Seas Tang sect, there were only a few people who had comprehended the fire fox martial spirit. Tang Bin and Tang Xiaoxi were the best among them. It was also because of this that they were valued and doted on by Tang Lan. Tang Hao held a broadsword in his hand and calmly walked among the crowd. He raised his battle chi to resist the invasion of the miasma. He knew that the battle after entering the dragon's tomb would not be easy. His heart was in a mess and he didn't know what to do. At this time, Lin Muyu couldn't find Tang Xiaoxi after searching around. He could only light a bonfire and roast some cooked food to replenish his strength. Otherwise, if a strong enemy came, they wouldn't give him any time to eat. After eating half of the deer's leg, he patted his abdomen and felt very satisfied. The little dragon crouched beside him and ate the remaining half of the deer's leg. After that, it returned to the alternate space to sleep in satisfaction. In the blink of an eye, night fell. Lin Muyu stood up and continued to search in the jungle alone. He was very afraid that if he stopped, he wouldn't be able to help but think about whether Tang Xiaoxi was safe or whether Tang Xiaoxi had encountered an accident. The bright moonlight shone on the ground of the dragon's tomb, reflecting a silver radiance on the piles of dragon bones. Under the skeleton of a silver dragon, a beautiful girl was curled up. She was wearing simple clothes, but the clothes were not very suitable because behind her, a fiery red tail was flying up and dancing restlessly. Fortunately, after so many days, although Tang Xiaoxi didn't know how to change back to her original appearance, she at least learned how to control the flame force in her body. Therefore, all the flame force in her body was contained, so it wouldn't burst out and burn the clothes that she had painstakingly stolen. A pair of starry eyes looked at the bright moon in the sky. Tang Xiaoxi suddenly remembered the first time she came to the dragon's tomb. At that time, Lin Muyu and Qin Yin were by her side. Apart from Tang Lan, these two were almost the most important people to Tang Xiaoxi. Her delicate body couldn't help but tremble slightly. She murmured, "Mu, Shao Yin, where are you? Will I see you again in the future?" But, in a puddle not far in front of her, she saw her own reflection. 9 fiery tails lightly danced. Although it was extremely seductive, how could she see Lin Muyu and Qin Yin like this? Feeling extremely wronged, Tang Xiaoxi hugged her knees and couldn't help but sob softly. The fox ears on the sides of her head trembled slightly, and the gently swaying fiery tail behind her seemed to be reminding Tang Xiaoxi of her true identity. After an unknown amount of time, suddenly, a torch swayed in the distance, and a voice came with the wind, "Young master, look, there is a faint flame coming from the direction of the dragon bones. Let's go and take a look." "Yes." Chapter 275. Ah! When Tang Xiaoxi heard the familiar voice from afar, she could not help but feel sad. She could finally vent all the grievances in her heart at this moment. She abruptly leapt off the dragon bones, her snow-white feet stepping on the fiery ripples as she sprinted towards the direction of the torch without touching the ground. The 9 flame tails behind her danced slowly due to the excitement of their master. Brother, the moment she rushed out of the forest, she already saw Tang Bin under the light of the torch. Tang Bin and the others abruptly turned around and also saw Tang Xiaoxi under the moonlight. She was still as imposing and beautiful as ever, but the swaying flame tail behind her was really too demonic. In addition to the faint flame energy circulating around her body, as well as that pair of beautiful pale golden eyes, in the eyes of Tang Bin and the others, this was not beauty, but a strange light that caused them to be terrified. Kill the 9-tailed demon fox. Tang Bin suddenly opened his hand and directly used a Tianchong seal. Wang! A flame seal fell from the sky and directly fell on Tang Xiaoxi's head. But before the Tianchong seal could land, a golden seal rose from Tang Xiaoxi's body and smashed the Tianchong seal. Then, it turned into a golden seal in the air, as if it was protecting Tang Xiaoxi. Soul. Soul-subduing seal, Tang Bin was dumbfounded. The soul-suppressing seal was the Fire Fox seal's 8th level ultimate art. He had painstakingly studied it for close to a year and was still unable to catch a glimpse of it. But Tang Xiaoxi in front of him had actually already grasped the soul-suppressing seal. At this moment, Tang Bin's heart was in turmoil. Although the nine-tailed demon fox in front of him was Tang Xiaoxi in both voice and appearance, Tang Bin could not tolerate her anymore. Once Tang Xiaoxi, who had mastered the 8th level of the Fire Fox Seal, returned to Qihai City, Tang Lan would not hesitate to transfer the inheritance of Qihai City to Tang Xiaoxi. Did you hear me? Kill the nine-tailed demon fox, don't let her harm the common people. Tang Bin shouted with a ferocious expression. The broadsword in Tang Hao's hand trembled slightly as he muttered, Shao Shi, is it Shao Shi? Tang Xiaoxi's delicate figure trembled as well, and her golden eyes looked towards Tang Hao as she said, Uncle Hao. It's me, I'm Xiaoxi. Why do all of you want to kill me? Tang Hao's eyes turned red. Shao Shi, didn't you hear my order? Tang Bin roared and suddenly rushed out. The flames on his body soared and he roared, this is not Shao Shi. This is just a nine-tailed demon fox. Kill him for me. He opened his palm and the power of the 5 elements surged. The 7th level of the Fire Fox Seal, Seal of 5 Energies. This was Tang Bin's strongest killing move. At this time, he used 100% of his power. His desire to kill Tang Xiaoxi was evident. But Tang Xiaoxi stood there quietly. Her 9 flame tails swayed gently. She slowly raised her palm and a golden seal suddenly surged in her palm. It was the highest level of the Fire Fox Seal, the Seal of Samsara. Boom! Tang Bin's Seal of 5 Energies collapsed in an instant, like a wolf surrendering in front of a tiger. On the contrary, Tang Xiaoxi's Seal of Samsara enveloped Tang Bin. As long as Tang Xiaoxi exerted a little force, Tang Bin would be turned into ashes under the power of the seal. However, Tang Xiaoxi couldn't do it. The power of the Seal of Samsara dissipated as if it had never appeared. Woo! Tang Bin stood there trembling. His eyes showed not gratitude, but killing intent. He shouted, Tang Min, Tang Cheng, Tang Qi, what are you waiting for? Shoot her for me. These people were Tang Bin's absolute confidants. They immediately raised their longbows and arrows flew out. As long as these arrows tempered with fire poison were shot into the body, the consequences would be unpredictable. Tang Hao hurriedly shouted, wait, young master. No, this is Shao Shi. This is Shao Shi. His eyes were full of tears, but how could he stop Tang Bin who had made up his mind to kill? Under the moonlight, Tang Xiaoxi gently turned around. Her 9 flame tails danced in the air, deflecting all the arrows. At the same time, the flame-fighting energy around her became more and more intense. She could have easily killed the group of people in front of her, but she couldn't do it. Many of these people were elders who watched her grow up. Many of these people were her clansmen who played with her when she was young. Clang! Tang Bin's eyes were cold as he raised his hand and pulled out the sword from the waist of the attendant. He leaped up and the blade shook and refracted 3 sword lights in the air, slashing towards Tang Xiaoxi. Bang bang bang, with 3 loud sounds, the flame tail's flame profound energy easily blocked Tang Bin's attack. Tang Xiaoxi spread out her 5 fingers, and suddenly the golden mark of the soul-suppressing seal appeared in her palm. She lightly said, brother, don't force me to kill you. Tang Bin raised his sword and slashed down again as if he had gone mad. There are no demons in the Tang family. If you cherish the reputation of the Tang family, then die. Don't ruin the reputation of my 7 Seas Tang sect. Tang Xiaoxi smiled miserably. The soul-suppressing seal in her palm instantly dissipated and was replaced by a flame palm force. Bang! Tang Bin's body fell down. A few of his ribs had already been broken. He spat out a mouthful of blood, but he still struggled to crawl up. He gripped his sword tightly and said angrily, attack together and kill her. Otherwise, the Tang family will be consigned to eternal damnation. Tang Xiaoxi's golden eyes were filled with despair as she muttered, don't force me, but a group of people still raised their spears and rushed over. The spears were suffused with true energy as they stabbed towards Tang Xiaoxi's body. These people from 7 Seas City had all gone crazy. All of you, die. Tang Xiaoxi suddenly leaped up, flames lingering around her body in the air aimed a soul-suppressing seal towards the ground. Boom! The powerful seal formed a shock wave. Immediately, a group of people retreated with blood flowing from their 7 apertures and died on the spot. She really is a demon. She really is a demon wearing a beautiful appearance. Tang Bin's face was pale. He pointed his sword at Tang Xiaoxi and laughed loudly. The demon has revealed her true face. Kill her for me, kill her for me. Tang Xiaoxi smiled. Her smile was incomparably sorrowful. Her delicate body under the moonlight was especially pitiful. But Tang Bin and the others would not pity her. In the blink of an eye, another group of people rushed over with their swords and sabers. Arrows flew in the air. Tang Xiaoxi gritted her teeth and used another 5 chi seal. In an instant, dozens of people died tragically. At the same time, Tang Xiaoxi's protective supreme force also slowly dissipated. Pooh! Her fragrant shoulder was suddenly struck by an arrow, causing blood to flow while a few traces of sword chi had appeared on her arm and abdomen. However, these injuries were nothing to Tang Xiaoxi. What truly caused her pain was Tang Bin's cruelty and heartlessness. It was the indifference of this older brother that had grown up with her since she was young. This pain was like a myriad of arrows piercing through her heart, causing her to be in so much pain that she wished she was dead. Enough. Enough. Tang Hao suddenly raised his arm and blocked in front of Tang Bin. He loudly said, "Young master, this is really Xiao Shi. How many more do we have to die before we are satisfied? Don't hurt her anymore." Tang Bin's eyes were cold. He slowly raised his palm. The star offering seal was enshrouded in his palm. "Uncle Hao, get out of the way. Otherwise, the next person to die will be you." Tang Hao slowly closed his eyes. Tears flowed out of his eyes. "I watched you all grow up. I really can't bear to see you all kill each other. Kill me. Don't let me see everything in front of me anymore." Buzz. Tang Bin's star offering seal came out. However, Tang Hao was safe and sound. When he opened his eyes, he saw Tang Xiaoxi standing in front of him, her 9 flaming tails dancing in a seductive manner. It was she who had blocked the star offering seal for him. Pooh! Tang Xiaoxi suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Her clothes were tattered by the star offering seal. Half of her snow-white body was exposed. It was stained with blood. Many of the clan's disciples couldn't bear to look at it. "Brother." Tang Xiaoxi wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and suddenly smiled. She said in an incomparably calm voice, "If Xiaoxi obstructs your path, then you can kill Xiaoxi. You've always doted on Xiaoxi since she was young, perhaps this is the ending I deserve." Saying this, Tang Xiaoxi slowly closed her beautiful eyes. She just stood there. "Young Master Tang Bin, don't." Tang Hao hurriedly shouted. But Tang Bin still limped forward with his sword. His sword was filled with fighting spirit. He planned to use this sword to pierce through Tang Xiaoxi's body and end everything. Just when everyone thought that Tang Xiaoxi was about to die, a golden light suddenly blossomed in the sky. A figure landed in front of Tang Xiaoxi like lightning. The golden gourd martial spirit broke out of his body. The wall of the gourd blocked Tang Bin's attack. Almost at the same time, the sword in his hand cleanly swept through the air. Puff! Tang Bin retreated a few steps under the rebound of the strong fighting spirit. He couldn't help but reach out to touch his throat. There, a huge cut was spewing blood. His entire throat was almost cut open by this sword. Lin Muyu's eyes were red and cold. The blood on the dragon spirit sword in her hand fell to the grass. She said in a cold voice, "I'm not a member of the Tang family. I don't mind killing this scum of the Tang sect." Tang Xiaoxi opened her eyes, but she ignored Tang Bin, who fell to the ground and died. Her eyes became soft. The back of Lin Muyu in front of her seemed to bring all comfort. Moo! Her tears burst out. Lin Muyu turned around and hugged her slender waist. She held her weak body in her arms. Her cold eyes were like a rapidly melting glacier. She smiled softly and said, Xiaoxi, I'm sorry I'm late. Not late, not late. Tang Xiaoxi cried, as long as you're here, it's never late. At this time, a group of 7 Seas city clansmen woke up from the shock. One of them held a long sword and shouted angrily, Lin Muyu, you actually killed the young master of 7 Seas city, Tang Bin. Do you know how big of a sin this is? Lin Muyu looked up at him and said, before I decided to silence you, why didn't you get lost? You. The group of 7 Seas city clansmen were dumbfounded. But looking at Tang Bin's body on the ground, they didn't dare to leave. How big of a sin was this? On the contrary, Tang Hao walked forward and picked up Tang Bin's body. He said, Xiaoxi, I didn't expect things to develop to this point. Tang Xiaoxi nestled in Lin Muyu's arms. The gaze in her golden eyes was very soft. Uncle Hao, take Tang Bin's body back to 7 Seas City. Tell Grandpa that Xiaoxi has wronged him. Tang Hao nodded. And, then you're on your own. Chapter 276. The figures of Tang Hao and the others gradually disappeared into the jungle. Lin Muyu was still holding Tang Xiaoxi in his arms. Looking at the wounds all over her body, he couldn't help but feel a burst of heartache. With a leap, he landed on the dragon bones above and placed Tang Xiaoxi on the smooth dragon bones. Then, he took out some healing medicine and applied it to every wound on her. Tang Xiaoxi lay quietly in his arms with a faint smile on her lips. Ever since the demon fox in her body had awakened, Tang Xiaoxi had never been as calm as this moment. It was as if as long as Lin Muyu was by her side, she was not afraid of anything. After applying the medicine, Lin Muyu helped her up and sat her in front of him. Using the spirit pulse technique, he sensed the powerful strength in Tang Xiaoxi's body. He couldn't help but frown and say, Xiaoxi, I'm afraid you're stronger than me now. Why don't you resist and let Tang Bin kill you? A trace of depression flashed across Tang Xiaoxi's face as she said faintly, I've already become like this. Do I still want to kill and harm people? This is to protect yourself, not harm people. Is that so? Tang Xiaoxi blinked her golden eyes and looked deeply at Lin Muyu. She suddenly asked with a smile, Mu, seeing me like this, don't you feel afraid at all? What's there to be afraid of? Lin Muyu smiled and reached out to caress her fox ears. She said with a smile, you look cute like this. Tang Xiaoxi was silent for a while and asked, won't you dislike me like this? No, Lin Muyu comforted her, Xiaoxi, I've told you before that I come from another world with a different civilization. In our world, if anyone could have a girlfriend like you, they would definitely be envied to death. Because everyone would say that there's nothing to be proud of about what kind of girl you've hooked up with. I've hooked up with a beautiful 9-tailed demon fox. Everyone would be envious of me. Really? Tang Xiaoxi looked at her with a smile through her tears. Of course. Lin Muyu's gaze landed on the 9 flame tails behind Tang Xiaoxi. It's just that with so many tails, it's a bit troublesome. What's the trouble? Tang Xiaoxi asked with a smile. Well. Lin Muyu pondered for a moment and said, if I marry you in the future, I'm afraid I can't use the position where you are on the bottom. This will press down on my tail. Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face turned completely red. Stinky Mu, you're still making fun of me at this time. Seeing her smile, Lin Muyu was relieved. However, after a few seconds, Tang Xiaoxi blushed and whispered, it's okay, I can be up there. Lin Muyu was dumbfounded and didn't know what to say. Under the moonlight, Lin Muyu came back with some dry firewood and started a bonfire in the pit of the dragon bones. Then, she took out the rabbit she had hunted a few days ago from her universe bag and roasted it over the fire. Not long after, oil splashed into the fire, and a fragrant smell filled the air. Tang Xiaoxi's golden eyes stared at the delicious food. It seemed like she hadn't eaten something decent in many days. Are you cold? Lin Muyu looked at Tang Xiaoxi. She was only wearing a badly damaged village woman's clothes, so a large portion of her body was exposed. It was alluring, but it would definitely be very cold in early spring. Thus, Lin Muyu reached out and tore off the holy temple cloak behind her and thoughtfully covered Tang Xiaoxi with it. Then, she took out a small magic noise knife and skillfully cut off a large piece of rabbit leg meat from the rabbit and handed it to Tang Xiaoxi. She smiled and said, "Eat, eat more." "Okay." Tang Xiaoxi took the piece of meat and took a small bite. After her appetite was stimulated, she began to eat in large mouthfuls. She was indeed starving. Lin Muyu could even imagine Tang Xiaoxi drinking water by the river in the form of a little fox. Lin Muyu instantly felt her heart ache. "Eat slowly, it's all yours," he said with a smile. Tang Xiaoxi's face reddened. "Do I really have that much of an appetite?" "It's okay, I'll roast another one." Lin Muyu smiled and took out a wild boar's leg from her cosmos sack. This boar's leg was almost dried up in the cosmos sack's alternate dimension. She skewered it with a thick branch and placed it over the fire to roast. At this moment, she heard a howling sound. A Catasaurus seemed to be protesting. Everyone had something to eat, but it was the only one who had nothing. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She suddenly opened her hand and used her four-dimensional power to create a crack in space 10 meters away. A Catasaurus immediately came out and saw everything in front of it. It howled a few times at the pile of dragon bones. It was probably out of respect and mourning for its own kind. It turned around and immediately scuttled up the spine of the dragon bones. When the little dragon saw Tang Xiaoxi, it didn't have any fear. It howled and pounced into Tang Xiaoxi's arms. It stuck out its soft tongue and licked Tang Xiaoxi's palm. This was the nature of the dragon race. A Catasaurus, a high-level dragon race, could distinguish the aura of humans. Therefore, it was still so intimate with Tang Xiaoxi. This was enough to prove that Tang Xiaoxi was still Princess Shi. The only difference was that her strength and form had changed. Little Apple, Tang Xiaoxi hugged a Catasaurus's silly head and was extremely happy. "I thought I would never see you again. I didn't expect you to appear again." Hee hee, a Catasaurus naturally hugged the princess's arm and kept acting coquettishly. Lin Muyu quickly pulled it back by its tail and gave it a raw boar leg. She said, "Eat at the side." "Humph. How dare you steal my benefits?" Tang Xiaoxi opened her golden eyes wide and asked with a smile, "What benefits?" Lin Muyu's gaze fell on her snow-white breasts that were vaguely visible under her clothes. She said, "What do you think?" Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but blush. "Mu is a big pervert." Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She continued to pour oil and seasoning on the boar leg. She said, "Xiao Shi, how do you feel after transforming into a nine-tailed fox demon? Can you control this power?" "I don't know." Tang Xiaoxi was a little sad. She said, "That night, I suddenly cultivated the God Concentration Seal, the 5-Chi Seal, the Soul Suppression Seal, and the Reincarnation Seal. It was as if something in my body had awakened. The power of the law of fire was extremely strong. Then, I became like this. My ears disappeared and became fox ears. Behind me, I also grew 9 flame tails. I became neither human nor ghost, don't worry." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Actually, from my aesthetic point of view, you look very good now. Really. If you come with me to our world, you will definitely be very popular." "Really?" Tang Xiaoxi giggled. "Then consider this a promise. You have to bring me home." "Okay." But at this moment, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly became a little dejected. She said faintly, "My appearance. I don't know how my family is. If Grandpa really saw me like this, he would definitely be very sad. I'm afraid I won't be able to see Grandpa in this life." Lin Muyu didn't think too much about it. She added some firewood and comforted her. "Wait until we return to Lanyan City and see Chu and Great Deacon Lei Hong. They are experienced and knowledgeable. Maybe they will know how to dissolve the power in your body and let you return to your original appearance. After you return to your original state, I can accompany you back to Qihai City to see Duke Lan." Accompany me. Tang Xiaoxi moved her red lips and said, I'm afraid that's already very difficult. Mu, you killed cousin Tang Bin in order to save me. Once Grandpa knows about this, he will definitely not let it go. In our generation, none of our fathers comprehended the fire fox martial soul. But in our generation, there are quite a few who have awakened the fire fox martial soul. Brother Tang Bin is the strongest and the most talented among all the juniors. Grandpa favors him greatly and even made him the young master of the Tang sect. This time, you killed Brother Tang Bin. Grandpa will definitely not let it go. Let's wait until I return to Qihai City alone and appease Grandpa. You have the final say. Lin Muyu shook the branch and roasted the other side of the wild boar's leg. Instantly, drops of oil dripped into the fire, making a sizzling sound. His brows furrowed tightly. That's right, he had to kill Tang Bin in order to save Tang Xiaoxi. This was no small matter. Now that Tang Bin was dead, Tang Lan would definitely vent his anger on him, and he was Qin Jin's adopted son. Perhaps Tang Lan would vent his anger on the monarch. In that case, he would have killed one person, but he would have harmed tens of thousands of people. For now, he could only hope that Tang Lan would calm down a little and not do something rash to mobilize the army just for the sake of Tang Bin. After a while, Acatosaurus consecutively ate a few wild boar legs and laid down lazily to the side, snoring. The way it slept could be said that it did not have the majesty of the dragon race at all. Lin Muyu began to cut the meat from the wild boar leg to feed Tang Xiaoxi. Not long after, Princess Shi was once again amused by her sweetheart who spoke in a weird manner. Although Xiaoxi was a princess, the people in this world were conservative and serious. Lin Muyu's unruly and carefree attitude was undoubtedly the most fatal blow to the hearts of the young ladies in this world. Because there was no tent, after they ate and drank their fill, Tang Xiaoxi nestled in Lin Muyu's arms and fell asleep sweetly. The flames of the bonfire danced lightly at the side. Lin Muyu looked at Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful sleeping face and wondered how long it had been since she had slept so peacefully. He could not help but feel his heart ache. It was destined that he would not be able to sleep tonight. No one knew how many dangers there were in the dragon's tomb. Fortunately, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi's strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Even if they encountered a 10,000-year-old spiritual beast, they might not be at a disadvantage. It was a sleepless night. The next day, dew sprinkled all over the dragon's tomb. The warm sunlight pierced through the forest, casting mottled shadows on the dragon bones. At this time, the little dragon woke up. It opened its eyes and arched itself on Lin Muyu's arm. It let out a cry, indicating to its master that it was hungry again. Lin Muyu could not help but secretly scold this fellow for being a glutton. At this time, Tang Xiaoxi also opened her eyes. A pair of golden eyes looked at Lin Muyu without hiding the longing in them. She smiled and said, Mu, what should we do now? Leave the dragon's tomb and secretly return to Lanyan City. Okay. Chapter 277. Early in the morning, Lin Muyu left the dragon's necropolis while bathing in the warm sunlight. She actually found that warhorse in the forest outside the dragon's necropolis. It seemed like Tang Hao had left it behind for her. Lin Muyu was very grateful. Actually, Tang Hao was a good person, but he had followed the wrong person. If he had continued to follow Tang Bin, he probably wouldn't have been a good person. Luckily, she had killed Tang Bin with a single strike of her sword. Lin Muyu flipped onto the horse and reached out to pull Tang Xiaoxi up into his arms. However, Tang Xiaoxi's 9 fiery tails really blocked her vision. Luckily, Tang Xiaoxi was smart. She stuck out her tongue and sat on the horse, letting her fiery tails hang down beside the horse's belly so that it wouldn't affect Lin Muyu's galloping. However, this way, she could only hug Lin Muyu's waist and lean on him tightly. Taking out the map scroll, Lin Muyu glanced at it, then looked at the sun to confirm the direction. He then urged the horse forward. The warhorse had eaten grass in the forest for an entire night, so it had enough legs. With a long neigh, it charged forward. They had to reach Lanyan City as soon as possible. Otherwise, Qin Jin, Qin Yin, and the others would definitely be very worried. However, Lin Muyu didn't know that after he left, Qin Yin, Chu Chu, Jin Yifan, and the others had all come to the dragon's necropolis. This part of the dragon's necropolis was very lively. They hadn't traveled far when the auras of experts suddenly appeared in the spirit pulse technique. Instantly, Lin Muyu couldn't help but tremble. She hurriedly turned the horse around and ran into the forest. However, it was already too late. One of the enemy scouts galloped over and shouted, "Brat, don't run. I've already seen you." Looking at the insignia on this person's shoulder, he was from the Divine Might Battalion. Behind him was a group of cavalry galloping over, and Jin Yifan was among them. Lin Muyu couldn't help but groan inwardly. They had just left the dragon's tomb and they had already run into the Divine Might Battalion. Truly, misfortune never comes alone. Zheng Yifan spurred his horse forward. His gaze swept across Lin Muyu, then landed on Tang Xiaoxi. Looking at Tang Xiaoxi's fox ears and fiery tail, he couldn't help but smile and say, "I originally thought that the nine-tailed demon fox was just a legend, but now it seems like it's true." "Princess Shi, are you really Princess Shi?" Tang Xiaoxi jumped down from Lin Muyu's arms and landed lightly on the grass. Her snow-white feet stepped on the ripples of flames as she floated in the air. The 9 tails of flames behind her swayed gently. She bowed like a lady of the empire and smiled, "Greetings to the Marquis, Tang Xiaoxi greets you." Zheng Yifan hastily got off his horse and cupped his fists. "You're too kind, Princess." Zheng Yifan greets Princess Shi. On the side, Sikong Nan's palm was pressed on the hilt of his sword. Behind him, many of the Divine Might Battalion's men also had their swords drawn and were ready to fight at any time. Although Zheng Yifan's expression was respectful, the Divine Might Battalion's true stance was the people behind him, right? Lin Muyu flicked her wrist and took off the dragon spirit sword from her back. She buckled it at her waist so that she could unsheath it at any time. She cupped her fists and smiled. "I didn't expect Divine Marquis to come to the Dragon Forest as well." Zheng Yifan said, "That's because His Majesty is concerned about Princess Shi's safety. As his subjects, we naturally can't just stand by and watch. It's our lifelong wish to die for His Majesty." "What a lifelong wish." Lin Muyu laughed and said respectfully, "Divine Marquis, I've found Princess Shi. Please return. I'll bring Princess Shi safely back to Lanyan City." "No, since I'm here coincidentally, why don't we protect Princess Shi back to the imperial capital?" Zheng Yifan said with a smile, "After all, it'll be safer if there are more people." "Safety my ass." Lin Muyu cursed in her heart, but she couldn't refute Zheng Yifan's words. However, she really didn't want to travel with Zheng Yifan. It was the same as sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth. At this moment, Sikong Nan suddenly raised his voice, "General Lin Muyu, I wonder if you've seen young Master Tangbin from Seven Seas City?" "Tangbin?" Lin Muyu's heart trembled. She shook her head without hesitation. "I haven't seen him." What a joke. If Zheng Yifan knew that she killed Tangbin, he would definitely use this as a pretext to make a fuss. By then, he would have even more reason to kill her and Tang Xiaoxi. It might even be possible that he would clean up Tang Lan's family. Tang Xiaoxi bowed again and said with a smile, "Divine Marquis, Xiao Shi has a presumptuous request. I wonder if Divine Marquis can fulfill Xiao Shi's wish." Zheng Yifan laughed, "Princess Shi is too courteous. Please speak." Tang Xiaoxi blinked her golden eyes and said, "Everyone in Lanyan City knows that the person Xiao Shi likes is the Emperor's godson, Lin Muyu. Now that I can finally be alone with Mu, I hope that Marquis can fulfill my wish and let me and Mu return to Lanyan City alone. This way, we can go sightseeing and talk about love on the way." As she spoke, her face blushed. Even though she was lying, she still couldn't help but feel shy. Zheng Yifan was stunned. He didn't expect Tang Xiaoxi to be so straightforward. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart that beautiful girls in this era were indeed very open. Thinking back to when he was fighting in the north and south, he basically had to fight for women. Frowning, Xing Yifan came up with an idea. He smiled and said, "There are many dangers in the dragon-seeking forest, so Princess Xi's safety is the most important. Let's travel together. This way, even if we encounter some 10,000-year-old spiritual beasts, we can still avoid danger. What does Princess Xi think?" Hee hee. Is the Marquis doubting Xiao Xi's strength? Tang Xiaoxi giggled and suddenly raised her left hand. Her palm shone with a golden light and her whole body was enshrouded in flames. With a sudden shout, the soul-suppressing seal broke through the air. With a boom, a huge rock that was a few meters tall not far away was instantly turned into powder. Even the shockwave from the soul-suppressing seal smashed the surrounding trees into pieces. This kind of destructive power made Sikong Nan and the other generals of the Divine Might Battalion dumbfounded. Everyone knew that Tang Xiaoxi's cultivation was not weak, but wasn't she a little too strong at this time? This kind of momentum was not inferior to the Holy Region at all. How is it? Does the Marquis still think that Xiao Xi doesn't have the ability to protect herself? Tang Xiaoxi smiled slightly. Xing Yifan's expression was calm, but in his heart, he was extremely shocked. Everyone said that the nine-tailed demon fox was a monster, but now it seemed that this monster was really too strong. It directly allowed Tang Xiaoxi, who was at the first level of the heaven realm, to have the cultivation of the Holy Region. This kind of leap in strength was really too shocking. At this time, just as Xing Yifan was thinking about how to make Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu stay, another group of people suddenly galloped from the north, and their aura was very familiar. Lin Muyu turned around and saw a familiar figure at the forefront of this group of people. It was Qin Yin. Seeing Chu Chu beside Qin Yin, Lin Muyu immediately felt relieved. As long as Chu Chu was there, the fire palm could rule the universe, and Xing Yifan had no chance of winning. In fact, Lin Muyu even felt that it was necessary to get rid of Xing Yifan here and now to avoid future troubles. However, this idea was too bold. Although Feng Jixing would definitely approve of it, Chu Chu was a loyal and honest person, so he would definitely not be willing to do so. Xiao Xi. Qin Yin happily jumped off the horse and flew over. Xiao Yin. Tang Xiaoxi was also very happy. The two girls hugged each other in the air. Qin Yin hugged her best friend tightly, while Tang Xiaoxi's 9 flame tails swayed gently, looking very excited. At the same time, she used her strength to control her body and safely landed with Qin Yin. All right. Lin Muyu moved her hand away from the hilt of her sword and cupped her fists. Now that Her Highness, Chu, and Feng Jixing are here, Xiao Xi's safety will definitely not be a problem. Divine Marquis, thank you for your concern. We will return to Lanyan City by ourselves. You should also be careful along the way. You are an important official of the Empire, so no accidents can happen to you. Xing Yifan's expression was extremely ugly. He cupped his fists. In that case, I will return to Lanyan City with the Divine Might Battalion first. Your Highness, Princess Xi, please be careful along the way. Qin Yin smiled and bowed. Then Xiao Yin will not see you off, Divine Marquis. At Xing Yifan's command, the hundreds of Divine Might Battalion immediately turned around and returned the way they came. After a few days of galloping, they probably didn't expect this outcome. The spring wind brushed past them, but it didn't give them a sense of safety. Sikong Nan was furious. Marquis, are we going back empty-handed? Not empty-handed, of course. Xing Yifan's lips curled into a smile. I have long known that Tang Bin wants to kill Tang Xiaoxi, and Lin Muyu will definitely protect Tang Xiaoxi, so there will be a fierce battle with Tang Bin. At that time, if Tang Bin can kill Lin Muyu, His Majesty will definitely vent his anger on Seven Seas City. If Lin Muyu kills Tang Bin, Tang Lan will definitely vent her anger on the imperial capital. No matter what, it's good for us. If Tang Xiaoxi's transformation into a 9-tailed fox demon can cause the alliance between Lanyan City and Seven Seas City to break, then this transformation is really great. Sikong Nan's eyes lit up. Marquis is wise. I have thought too little. Zheng Yifan glanced at him indifferently. No, your shortcoming is that you have done too little and thought too much. Sikong Nan was stunned and speechless. In the forest outside the dragon's tomb, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin rode side by side. Qin Yin had a smile on her face. After so many days of worry, she could finally let go. Looking at Tang Xiaoxi's golden eyes and fiery tail, she was actually a little envious. She pouted and said, Xiaoxi's eyes are really beautiful now, is that so? Tang Xiaoxi was a little speechless. If you really have it, you will feel afraid instead. I won't be afraid. Qin Yin said with a smile, look, isn't Big Brother you also not afraid? Yes, Xiaoxi is still Xiaoxi. What's there to be afraid of? Lin Muyu said with a smile. On the side, Feng Jixing grinned and said mysteriously, moreover, perhaps you will like Xiaoxi's current appearance even more. It's especially amorous, isn't it? Lin Muyu blushed. Big Brother Feng, don't talk nonsense. I'm not that kind of person. At this moment, Zhang Wei said something very inappropriate. I heard that the person Lin Muyu likes is Her Highness Yin, but it seems that she has a good relationship with Princess Shi. Could it be that the Lord wants to marry both of them? Oh my God, a princess and a princess, one adult and one child. This is really a blessing. I'm afraid this has never happened in the 7,000 years of history of the empire. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi blushed at the same time and didn't know what to say. Lin Muyu was also silent. In fact, he also didn't know why. In short, he loved Qin Yin deeply, but he also liked Tang Xiaoxi. Zhang Wei's words made him slightly moved, but he quickly overturned it. This world was changing too quickly. The only thing he wanted to do now was to stay by Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi's side. He was already very satisfied to be able to accompany them. At this moment, Chu Chu rode his horse to Lin Muyu's side with a solemn expression and said, when we came here, we met Tang Hao and the people from Seven Seas City. Did you kill Tang Bin? Chapter 278. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and calmly said, if I didn't kill Tang Bin at that moment, Xiaoxi would have died in Tang Bin's hands. Chu Chu let out a long sigh and said, even so. I'm afraid there would be a dispute. In the end, Tang Bin still died in your hands. Once Tang Hao and the others return to Seven Seas City, I'm afraid this matter will spread. At that time, how should we resolve it? Qin Yin's bright eyes looked at Chu Chu and said, Tang Bin wanted to kill Xiaoxi, this matter can be said to be witnessed by everyone. As long as we explain it to Duke Lan, with Duke Lan's love for Xiaoxi, I'm sure he will understand. No. Chu Chu shook his head and said, if it was Xiaoxi who killed Tang Bin, perhaps Duke Lan will forgive Xiaoxi. After all, Xiaoxi was only protecting herself. But you killed Tang Bin, this cannot be forgiven. Think about it, what will Duke Lan think? Even if Tang Bin wanted to kill Xiaoxi, that is Seven Seas City's own matter. Why is it up to you, the foster son of the emperor, to act? Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but be afraid, what should we do? Chu Chu sighed and said, let's take one step at a time and see how His Majesty will rule on this matter. Your Highness and the princess must speak up for you in front of His Majesty. This way, His Majesty will not sacrifice the rook to protect the general. Sacrifice the rook to protect the general. Qin Yin's eyes widened, no, it won't happen. Father will not abandon brother you. Chu Chu smiled, Your Highness is deceiving yourself. It's not like you don't know His Majesty's character. Between the country and you, who is more important, do you still not understand? Qin Yin fell silent. At the side, Feng Jixing patted Lin Muyu on the shoulder and said, don't worry, there'll always be a way. Chu's words are reasonable, but you should also understand that you're the foster son of the emperor and the strongest cultivator in the younger generation of Lanyan City. Moreover, you have such a good relationship with Xiao Yin. His Majesty needs you to protect his daughter, so he won't touch you. Chu Chu couldn't help but smile, General Feng's words are true. Lin Muyu changed the topic and asked, Chu, the power in Xiaoxi's body has awakened, so she transformed into the nine-tailed fox. I wonder if Chu has any way to restore Xiaoxi's body to its original state. Although we don't mind her current form, it really affects her normal life. Chu nodded. I know very little about the legend of the nine-tailed fox. Even in the ancient books, there are very few records about it. In the long history of tens of thousands of years, every war means the loss of a civilization's ancient books. I'm afraid there's no one in this world who knows about the nine-tailed fox. We're the only ones who have seen the nine-tailed fox. Then what should we do? Lin Muyu was a little speechless. Qin Yin said, Fortunately, Xiaoxi can now control the flame power in her body. As long as she puts on the cloak, no one will be able to tell anything. We can slowly think of a way. Well, that's the only way. Let's return to Lanyan City at full speed. The dragon-seeking forest is too dangerous. All right. 3 days later, they returned to Lanyan City. It was silent in Zai Tian Palace. Qin Jin sat on the throne and watched as Chu, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Feng Jixing, and Tang Xiaoxi walked in side by side. Xiao Yin, Chu, you're back. Qin Jin stood up excitedly and said, Xiaoxi is back too. It's good that she's fine, it's good that she's fine. Tang Xiaoxi looked at Qin Jin with her golden eyes and bowed like a lady, saying, Thank you for your concern, Your Imperial Majesty. Qin Jin looked into Tang Xiaoxi's eyes and felt a little uneasy. Qin Yin lifted the cloak on her head and said to the guards around her, All imperial guards and attendants are to leave. I want to have a good talk with my father. You guys can just stand guard outside. Everyone cupped their fists together and said, Yes, Your Imperial Highness. After all the guards had left, Qin Jin nodded and said, That's enough. Xiaoxi, let us have a look at you. Tang Xiaoxi slowly lifted the cloak and a beautiful face appeared in front of the emperor. However, a pair of fox ears glowed with a faint fiery luster and trembled slightly. She reached out to untie the belt in front of her chest and the cloak fell to the ground with a whoosh. Immediately, 9 fiery tails swayed gently behind her. It was very beautiful. Huff, Qin Jin sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Tang Xiaoxi in shock. This was the legendary 9-tailed demon fox, but from the looks of it, it was still Tang Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi, that's enough. He waved his hand. Tang Xiaoxi put on the cloak again and lowered her head. She said quietly, I'm sorry, Xiaoxi, I've scared Your Imperial Majesty. It's fine. Qin Jin nodded and suddenly looked at Lin Muyu with a stern gaze. Lin Muyu, do you know your crime? Lin Muyu took a step forward and said, Imperial Father, what crime have I committed? Qin Jin's gaze was stern as he said, The news of you killing Duke Lan's eldest grandson, Tang Bin, has already spread throughout Lanyan City. Are you still going to feign ignorance? Men, drag Lin Muyu away and behead her. Don't, Imperial Father. Qin Yin hurriedly knelt down. Tang Xiaoxi also knelt on the ground and said, Your Imperial Majesty, Lin Muyu had no choice but to kill Tang Bin in order to save my life. Your Imperial Majesty, please forgive her. If Your Imperial Majesty blames Lin Muyu for this, then Tang Xiaoxi can only be punished for the same crime. Chu cupped his fists and said, Your Imperial Majesty, Lin Muyu killed someone in order to save his life. It's pardonable and not deserving of death. This old man also thinks that Your Imperial Majesty should spare Lin Muyu's life. Qin Jin said calmly, Lin Muyu, since ancient times, murder must be paid with one's life. Moreover, the person you killed was Tang Bin, the first-in-line successor to Seven Seas City. If we want to punish you, do you have any objections? Lin Muyu raised his head to look at the pale-faced emperor and said, Your Imperial Majesty, please do as you wish. He was also vaguely displeased. Even though he knew that this was the emperor's way of doing things, Qin Jin had always referred to Qin Jin as his adopted son. Now that he had turned against him so mercilessly in the blink of an eye, he finally felt the coldness of the human heart. In this great hall, it was probably more about the mutual exploitation between the ruler and his official than the familial love between father and son. In the end, the emperor's adopted son was just an empty title. Looking at Lin Muyu's appearance, Qin Jin gritted his teeth and said, "Fine, later, after the meeting is over, report to the imperial prison. You will be temporarily detained in the imperial prison to be tried again later." Yes. No matter how hard Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi begged, it was useless. Qin Jin had only promised not to kill Tang Bin, but he had not promised not to punish him. If he did not punish him, the special envoy from Seven Seas City and Lanyan City would probably have something to say about it. At this moment, a messenger flew in from outside. "Your Imperial Majesty, urgent military news." Everyone was stunned. The country was at peace and the people were at peace. Where did this military news come from? Qin Jin raised his brows and said, "Speak, where did this military news come from?" The messenger said respectfully, "Military news from Demon Subduing Pass in the west of Lanyan City. A day ago, a large number of demons from the west gathered at Demon Subduing Pass and may attack at any time. It is said that the demons have mobilized more than 200,000 troops this time." What? Qin Jin stood up abruptly, anger on his face. The demons of the Forest of Infinity want to cause trouble again? Humph, do they want to relive the scene of our army sweeping through the Forest of Infinity 20 years ago? Chu Chu cupped his fists and said, "Your Imperial Majesty, the demons have been lying dormant in the Forest of Infinity for decades. Now that they have invaded again, they must be plotting something. We must send a famous general to defend Demon Subduing Pass. Otherwise, once Demon Subduing Pass is breached, the demon's army may arrive at Lanyan City at any time. At that time, I'm afraid everything will be too late." Qin Jin nodded. "Who does Lord Chu Chu want to recommend?" "Lin Muyu." Chu Chu smiled slightly. "It's time for him to gain some real experience." "No, Lin Muyu is a criminal and cannot lead an army." Qin Jin's gaze was stern as he said, "Men, send an order to the country protector General Yuan Xia to immediately set out for Demon Subduing Pass. We must stop these 200,000 demons in the west." "Yes." A messenger said respectfully and turned to leave. Qin Jin said again, "Demon Subduing Pass only has a measly 10,000 troops. It is not enough to contend against the demon's army. Send a letter to the Seven Seas and order Du Hai to dispatch 30,000 Tian Chong troops to reinforce Demon Subduing Pass." "Yes." Another messenger accepted the order and left. The demons had not set foot in the Central Plains for 20 years. Now, they were coming in a threatening manner, but Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and the others did not feel much fear. This was because when the demons last appeared in the Central Plains, they had not yet been born. However, Chu Chu understood the demon's power. He cupped his fists and said, "Your Majesty, forgive me for speaking bluntly. 40,000 troops still cannot stop the demon's attack. At least 150,000 elites are needed to stop them." "We know." Qin Jin nodded and said, "However, there are only so many troops that can be dispatched within the imperial capital. Sangnan Province, Tianshu Province, and Yunzhong Province are too far away, so it is inconvenient to dispatch troops. Only Qihai Province is the closest to the imperial capital. The army can arrive within 3 days, but, that brat you just killed Tang Bin. How can Duke Lan dispatch troops to reinforce the imperial capital?" Tang Xiaoxi raised her head and said, "Your Majesty, if there is a need, Xiaoxi is willing to personally make a trip to Qihai City and beg grandfather to dispatch troops to reinforce Demon Subduing Pass. That is all we can do. We will have to trouble Xiaoxi then." Qin Jin sat on the throne and said, "Elder Chu, accompany Xiaoxi to Seven Seas City. You must invite the 10,000-strong army of Seven Seas City. Otherwise, we can only use the Flying Mount Battalion and the Imperial Guards to defend against the demonic race." "Yes, Your Majesty, rest assured." Chu Chu and Tang Xiaoxi turned and left. Tang Xiaoxi looked back at Lin Muyu reluctantly and said, "Mu, you must be well and wait for my return." Lin Muyu nodded and did not speak. After the meeting, the protector of the state, Yuan Xia, personally led the official guard to demon subduing pass to command the war. Lin Muyu was escorted to the imperial prison by 2 imperial guards. It was the first time he experienced the imperial prison of Lanyan City, so it was naturally a particularly refreshing feeling. Fortunately, the imperial prison was guarded by the imperial guard. Although Lin Muyu had been sent to the imperial prison, he still had his rank, so the prison guards were extraordinarily courteous. Moreover, at night, Qin Yin personally came to visit him and brought him a lot of delicious food. This treatment was not at all like being in a prison, but more like being on vacation in the imperial prison. Moreover, he was accompanied by the beautiful princess, which no one else could envy. Chapter 279. Starlight shone through the prison cell's iron window. Lin Muyu sat quietly on the bed made of straw. Streams of dark force circulated around his body. The forging dragon bone remnant scroll was constantly tempering his body. Now, the strength of his bones and blood vessels had long surpassed Feng Jixing, Chu Huaying, Qin Lei, and the others who were also at the second level of the heaven realm. This was the magic of the forging dragon bone remnant scroll. After circulating it for a full cycle, he slowly exhaled and looked up at the starlight outside the window. He could not help but wonder where Tang Xiaoxi and Chu Chu were now. They had traveled day and night. They should be able to reach Seven Seas City in at most 2 days, right? At this moment, the 7 luminaries demon emperor who had been dormant in the depths of Yi Hai for a long time suddenly spoke. Lin Ruoji, say, how did you end up like this? Sai, I really don't know what to say about you. Lin Muyu leaned against the window and smiled. What's wrong? As the emperor's godson, you were actually thrown into prison. Moreover, you killed Tang Bin to save your beloved woman. What crime did you commit? The 7 luminaries demon emperor said indignantly, if I had my temper back then, I would have broken the prison with one palm and gone straight to Dragon Rocky Mountain. You have 20,000 elites like the Longdan army camp, who do you need to be afraid of? Kill your way to Cangnan province, trick them into opening the city gates, threaten the provincial governor Si Kongfan, take away his military power, and force your way to Tianshu province. With your ability, you can take down Tianshu province within 7 days, then take over the poor Tongtian province. After that, you can rest and recuperate for 2 years, cross the Qinling Mountains and conquer the 4 big provinces in the south. After that, you can counterattack Lanyan's city and proclaim yourself as the emperor. The world will be yours, you won't have to stay in prison so bitterly. Lin Muyu squinted her eyes. Demon Emperor, your plan sounds even better than a song. Unfortunately, it is full of mistakes, and if you do this, how many people will die? What are the dead afraid of? The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor laughed coldly. I was born to be a king. Whoever makes me feel wronged, I'll turn them into ashes. Let me tell you, kid, if you want others to respect you, you must first make them fear you. If you can't even do that, what right do you have to protect the people you care about? What right do you have to make others follow your will? Lin Muyu agreed. I've known you for so long. What you said makes sense, but it's too arrogant. I'm arrogant? Ha 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 ha. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor was laughing so hard that he was about to cry. I only said what I could do. This is called arrogance. If you want to talk about arrogance, you actually dared to challenge a holy domain like Exine Yifan when you were as weak as a chicken. You're the King arrogant one. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call you the world's #1 madman. You're mocking me again. I'm mocking you. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor laughed heartlessly. Lin Muyu slammed the table and said, I've already gotten to this point, and you're still mocking me. We share the same Yi-Hai after all. Can't you have some sympathy for me? The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor laughed loudly. Sympathy? I've never sympathized with the weak. I only respect the strong. If you can start a rebellion, destroy Cloud Province, 7 Seas Province, and make the world submit to you, I'll respect you. Otherwise, you're not worthy. Lin Muyu laughed. Demon Emperor, you've made the world submit to you before, right? In the end, you didn't even have a body. Did others respect you? In the end, did you even have half a person who loved you? The 7 luminaries' Demon Emperor was stunned. After a few seconds of silence, he said, Lin Ruoji, you really don't know how to chat. I'm going to sleep. Lin Muyu threw a tantrum and buried her head in sleep. 10 days later. Amidst the sound of the chains being unlocked, there was a whiff of the fragrance of wine. Feng Jixing came over with a bottle of fine wine. He was dressed in a handsome Imperial Army commander's armor. It was a huge contrast to Lin Muyu, who was dressed in black. "Ah, you, Brother Feng is here to see you." Feng Jixing held the wine jug and ordered the servants to put down a few delicacies. "Let's have a good drink to celebrate your release from prison." Release from prison? Lin Muyu was stunned. What do you mean? Has His Majesty decided to pardon me? Humph, dream on. Feng Jixing glanced at him and said, His Majesty locked you up for Duke Lan to see. If Duke Lan doesn't relent, do you think His Majesty will let you out? But now, there is a chance to get out. What do you mean? You know about the battle at Demon Subduing Pass, right? The Seven Seas City sent out troops and sent 100,000 troops to reinforce Demon Subduing Pass. His Majesty used Wuxia as the commander and a total of 140,000 elites were defending Demon Subduing Pass against the 200,000 monster race troops. But just 2 hours ago, Yushu flew to Lanyan City. Wuxia's troops were defeated and fell into the monster race's trap. Almost none of the 70,000 people who went out to kill the enemy returned. All of them died in battle, and even the vanguard general died in battle. Damn. Lin Muyu frowned. What good thing is this? Feng Jixing smiled. Wuxia is old, and useless. Moreover, he is obstinate and self-opinionated. Among the many generals in Lanyan City, I, Feng Jixing, need to guard the imperial city. Chu Huaying needs to stay in the Flying Mount camp to continue training this army that originally didn't belong to His Majesty. Qin Lei, this fellow, is brave but not astute. Only you, Lin Muyu, displayed outstanding strategy in the battle with Long Qianlin on Fire Axe Mountain, so the battle of Demon Subduing Pass must be ended by you. It won't take more than 3 days for His Majesty's Imperial Edict of Appointment to arrive at the Sky Prison. Lin Muyu also smiled. Big Brother Feng, drink, haha, drink. As Feng Jixing had expected, the next day, an attendant brought the Emperor's Imperial Edict into Lin Muyu's Sky Prison and brought her back to Zetian Palace Hall. At this time, there were many officials standing in Zetian Palace Hall. At least 100 important officials were watching this godson of the emperor walk in step by step. Lin Muyu had already changed into the attire of a divine temple deacon. Tang Xiaoxi had returned and was standing beside Chu Chu. She stuck out her tongue at Lin Muyu and smiled. Greetings, Your Majesty. Lin Muyu didn't even preface her tone. She directly performed an empire's military salute to Qin Jin. There was no need to mention kneeling on both knees as a subject. Qin Jin frowned and said, the matter of you accidentally killing young Master Tang Bin. Duke Lan has already agreed not to pursue it for now. Now that Demon Subduing Pass is in a bloody battle, the Empire needs people. We have decided to appoint you as the commander of the frontline army. You will lead 700 men from the Eagle Nest camp to Demon Subduing Pass and take over the command of General Wuxia. Are you willing? Lin Muyu nodded. Yes. Someone, bring the tiger tally. Qin Jin said loudly. An attendant brought an embroidered box in front of Lin Muyu. Inside the box was a golden tiger tally, which was different from the dragon talisman. There was also an imperial edict to the side. That was his letter of appointment. Only with this imperial edict could he take over military power from Wuxia's hands. Qin Jin looked at him from afar and said, You, go and make up for your mistakes with your merits. If you didn't defeat the demon army, then you don't need to return to Lanyan City. What other requests do you have? Lin Muyu nodded and said, Your Majesty, I've never seen a demon before, and I've never commanded an army of 100,000. Therefore, can you please assign me a veteran general who has experienced war as my assistant general so that he can remind me at all times? The corner of Qin Jin's mouth rose. Which old general is willing to go into battle with the army? Everyone in the crowd was silent. Xing Yifan's face was ashen. The group of God Might battalion generals behind him were also silent. At this time, they naturally wouldn't help Lin Muyu. At this time, an old general with white hair and a white beard walked out of the crowd. He cupped his hands and said, "This old subject Suing is willing to assist the young general." Qin Jin smiled. "That's good. General Su is already close to 70 years old, but you are still as sharp as ever. It couldn't be better to have you accompany you to battle. Remember to take care of our son. He is our only son." Suing cupped his hands. "Yes, Your Majesty." The insignia on Su Ying's collar was a purple flower with 1 gold star. This was the rank of Lieutenant General and Chiliarch. It turned out that this old general's rank was even lower than Lin Muyu's. However, at this time, 2 attendants walked up and replaced Lin Muyu's insignia with 3 gold stars. This was the rank of commander. They also replaced Su Ying's insignia with 2 gold stars. This was the rank of captaincy. This was the only way to intimidate the army's morale. There wasn't much preparation. Suing only brought 50 of his personal guards. Lin Muyu gathered 700 people from the Eagle Nest Battalion and set off in the afternoon with the Emperor's imperial edict. Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Jixing, and Chu Huaying escorted them all the way to the north gate of Swallow Orchid City. War is not child's play. Listen to General Su Ying's words. Feng Jixing patted Lin Muyu's shoulder and smiled. Lin Muyu nodded. "Yes, I will." Qin Yin's face was full of worry. She reached out to pull Lin Muyu's reins and said, "Brother Yu, legend has it that the demon race is very cruel and fierce. You must be careful." Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, "Don't worry. Mu will definitely come back to see us in one piece. Isn't that right, Mu?" Lin Muyu cupped her fists and smiled brightly. "Princess Xiao Yin and Princess Xiao Shi, please don't worry. Although I don't know what the demon race is like, I won't lose. Trust me." "Yes." The 2 girls raised their heads. Suing said, "General, it's time for us to set off. The war is urgent. We can't afford to be sentimental." Wei Chou laughed. "Yes, sir. It's time for us to set off. Our brothers are all waiting to kill the demon race. Moreover, we all want to see what the legendary demon race is like. Yes, let's go." The demon race was a huge race that lived in the endless forest in the west of the empire. It was said that there were more than 1 million demon race members, but only about 30% of them could fight. However, the demon race's armor and weapons were very simple and crude. They mostly used their primitive abilities to fight, so their battle strength was not very strong. This was also the reason why Qin Jin had not mobilized the entire empire's military to fight against the demon race. The demon race had at most 300,000 soldiers, but the human army definitely had more than 1 million soldiers. Chapter 280. A day and a night later, Lin Muyu, Suing, Wei Chou, and the others arrived at Yaosubduing Pass. From a distance, they could see smoke rising from the pass, and soldiers were constantly moving supplies to and fro. The main camp of the Imperial Army was within the pass. At this time, the gates were wide open, and a group of heavy cavalry charged out, spears in hand. "Is it Lady Lin Muyu?" a blood-stained cavalryman asked respectfully. Lin Muyu nodded. "Yes, it is us. How is the situation?" The cavalryman wiped the blood from his face. "These demons seem to be attacking like crazy. This is the 2nd attack today, and the casualties among the Imperial soldiers are very high. The commander of the vanguard, Wuxia, is waiting to hand over military authority to Milord. Please follow me." They galloped into the city. The moment they entered the pass, they heard wails all over the ground. All of the Imperial Army's camps were set up inside the pass, and the entire camp was about to become a camp for wounded soldiers. Wounded soldiers who had not received treatment were everywhere. Not far away, there were at least 100 wounded soldiers lying on the ground, most of them wounded by arrows. A general drenched in blood ran back and forth with a long saber in his hand. He suddenly grabbed a logistician and shouted angrily, "Where are the medical officers? Where are the medical officers? Hurry up and treat my brothers." The logistician's face was ashen. "General Tang, we really don't have enough medical officers. Where are the people from the spiritual medicine department?" General Tang continued to ask. The logistician trembled with fear. More than 100 people from the spiritual medicine department went to the vanguard to treat the wounded soldiers of the Tianchong army first. Bullshit. General Tang sent him flying with a slap. The wounded soldiers of the Tianchong army are imperial soldiers, but are the wounded soldiers of our Qihai city not imperial soldiers? Why should we treat them first? General, this has nothing to do with this lowly one. It's General Yuanxia's order. At this time, Lin Muyu and the others had already arrived. Suing raised his eyebrows. "Hey, what's going on here?" General Tang scowled and said angrily, "And who are you people? You're probably here for nothing. How dare you?" Suing sternly said, "We were sent by His Majesty to defend the demon-subduing pass. This is the former Commander-in-Chief, Lin Muyu. I am the Deputy Commander-in-Chief, Suing. Who are you?" "Laozi. I am 7 Seas City's Deputy General Tang Zhen." Tang Zhen raised his head to look at Lin Muyu. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, he said, "General, if you really are the Commander-in-Chief who has come to defend demon-subduing pass, please immediately order the military doctors to treat my brothers. They won't last much longer. The archery of those dear demons is frighteningly accurate." Lin Muyu nodded. "General Tang Zhen, there's no need to say anything. A doctor will be here soon." "Thank you, General. Come with me." "Yes." The Central Army tent was at the heart of demon-subduing pass and was surrounded and protected by layers upon layers of barracks. This pass that could garrison 20 soldiers truly lived up to its reputation. At this time, everyone in the Central Army tent was frowning. General Yuanxia's face was ashen, his armor broken as he sat there. Beside him was his son, Yuan Lian. In this battle, the Imperial Army had suffered heavy losses. After Yuan Xie returned to the imperial capital, he most likely wouldn't be able to keep his position as General Yuan Xie. Lin Muyu walked forward and took out the imperial edict. "General Yuan Xie, I have come by His Majesty's imperial edict to defend demon-subduing pass. I order you to immediately lead your personal guards back to Lanyan City to hand over the edict." Yuan Xie hurriedly stood up. His face was not as ostentatious as before. He cupped his hands and said, "Young General, we have done our best, but the demons are too strong. Enough, no need to say more. His Majesty will make his own decision." "Yes." Yuan Xie handed over his tiger seal to Lin Muyu. He then led a group of personal guards out of the Central Army tent. Yuan Lian, on the other hand, was still in good armor. He glared fiercely at Lin Muyu and said, "Now it's as you wish. The entire demon-subduing pass is yours. Just wait and see. Those demons will naturally teach you a lesson." Lin Muyu's gaze was ice cold. She did not reply. Around them, a group of generals of captaincy rank sat dejectedly. Most of them were generals of 7 Seas City. Without waiting for Lin Muyu to speak, a white-haired old general stood up and said, "Young General, Yuan Xie lost because he was too proud of his achievements. Moreover, he was too distant. He actually transferred the majority of the camp's medical officers to the Tianchong Army's camp to treat the wounded soldiers. Our 7 Seas City, in one night, over 1,000 soldiers from 7 Seas City died because they didn't receive treatment." Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, "Old General, don't worry. Someone, send 70% of the medical officers to the Seven Seas City's casualty camp. Go do it immediately. Yes. An employee of the spiritual medicine department cupped his fists and accepted the order. Instantly, all the captaincy of Seven Seas City cast praising gazes. Just an order had allowed Lin Muyu to quickly rally the morale of the Seven Seas City army. Although the news of Lin Muyu killing Tang Bin had already spread throughout the world, the majority of these generals of Seven Seas City were border generals. They had not even met Tang Bin once, so naturally they would not feel hatred towards Lin Muyu. At this time, a military supply officer said in a low voice, "Young general, our rations are seriously insufficient. This morning, the number of arrows was already less than 100,000. What's worse is the lack of medicine. The gold wound medicine and healing medicine have almost been used up. The news of Yu Shu returning to Lanyan City to request for medicine has been delayed." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "What's going on? It should be the spiritual medicine department supervising this matter. Why haven't the medicine arrived yet?" Suing narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "It must be Minister Luo Xing's doing. His son Luo Bin is in charge of half the spiritual medicine department. Luo Xing and Yuan Xia have always been at odds, so he would delay the delivery of medicine to drag down the entire demon-subduing past battle situation." Lin Muyu took a deep breath. Immediately, all the captaincy stood up and cupped their fists, saying, "Young general, please give us justice. We, the soldiers, charge and break through the enemy lines, but the nobles of Lanyan City are enjoying fine wine and delicacies. They are not even willing to give us life-saving medicine. If that's the case, why are we still fighting? We might as well let the demon race pass through demon-subduing pass and slaughter Lanyan City." Lin Muyu hurriedly pacified the hearts of the people, saying, "Generals, don't be impatient. Don't worry, leave the matter of supplies and armaments to me." As he said this, he raised his eyebrows and said, "Wei Chou, immediately send a letter to the Imperial Guard Commander Feng Jixingdaran. Say that I asked him to help me supervise the supply of medicine, provisions, and weapons. It would be best if he could send Zhang Wei to personally deliver these goods. Tell him that these are life-saving goods." Wei Chou cupped his fists, saying, "Yes, Darren." Lin Muyu then looked at the crowd and said, "How is the situation at Demon Subduing Pass?" Tang Jin's face was ashen as he said, "The military strength of the 5 main branches of the demon race has already appeared. They have gathered at least 200,000 troops and are unstoppable. If not for Demon Subduing Pass being sturdy, I'm afraid our camp would have long been breached." When General Yuanxia commanded the troops, he only looked at the sand table and commanded the battle. "Young general, are you the same?" Lin Muyu smiled and raised her hand to pick up the dragon spirit sword at the side, saying, "Wei Chou, Suing, follow me to Demon Subduing Pass. I want to see with my own eyes how powerful these legendary demon race are." Tang Jin was startled and hurriedly said, "Young general, be careful. The deer demon of the demon race is born with the ability to shoot a willow leaf 100 steps away. General, be careful of those stray arrows." Got it. Suing frowned and said, "Men, form a shield battalion and protect the young general." "Yes." The stone steps leading to Demon Subduing Pass had been weathered and damaged. At this time, they were stained with blood and the corpses of dead soldiers could be seen everywhere. Lin Muyu led Wei Chou and Suing up the city walls step by step. Behind the black battlements, rows upon rows of imperial soldiers were defending. Outside the city walls was an incomparably frightening scene. A densely packed demon race army was fiercely charging at the city walls. The main force of the attack was a group of people covered in scales. No, they were not humans because their lower bodies were long and black. They were twisting and turning madly, brandishing the spears and axes in their hands as they charged towards the walls of Demon Subduing Pass. Their faces were ferocious and their mouths were wide open, spitting out long tongues. Further away, there were demon race members with the upper bodies of beautiful women and the lower bodies of deer. They held longbows in their hands and aimed from afar at the soldiers on the city walls. With a whoosh, whoosh sound, they shot cold arrows. Their ability to shoot a willow leaf 100 steps away was not an exaggeration. With the sound of the bowstrings, soldiers on the city walls immediately fell. Suing looked coldly at the city walls and said, "The ones attacking the city are the snake men, a deformed race formed by the mating of humans and snakes. The ones shooting the arrows are the deer demons, the descendants of humans and deer. Among the 5 main branches of the demon race, the snake men are the most numerous and their battle strength is also the strongest. The deer demons have the most accurate archery, the bear demons are the strongest in strength, and the lizard men are the strongest at night. However, the true leader is still the half-fox demons." "Half-fox demons?" Lin Muyu frowned and said, "What are half-fox demons?" Half-fox demons are a group of demon race members with fox tails, fox ears, and a cunning nature. They are born with the ability to control fire, and among the 5 main branches of the demon race, their intelligence is the closest to that of humans. This time, the demon race has turned out in full force to attack Middle-earth. Humph, how despicable. Suing was a veteran general who had once followed Qin Jin to battle all over the world. He must have fought against the demon race before and must have suffered greatly. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such a deep hatred for them. A captaincy of the 7 Seas City's army said in a deep voice, "Young general, be careful. The deer demons are aiming at you." Lin Muyu turned around and saw a group of deer demons about 200 meters away aiming their arrows in her direction. These deer demons had already seen through Lin Muyu's identity and status, so they wanted to kill her. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the accurate arrows pierced through the air and arrived in the blink of an eye. Instantly, the group of human generals behind her were shocked. "Young general, be careful." Wang. The golden light shone brightly, and the walls of the gourd penetrated the body, transforming into a huge gourd with a radius of several meters, enveloping a small part of the city walls. Those arrows were all blocked with bangs, causing the group of generals behind her to be dumbfounded. Many of them were valiant generals who had been through many battles, but their true strength was far inferior to the divine temple staff who were proficient in cultivation like Lin Muyu. Chapter 281. Pft, pft. 3 soldiers had their throats pierced and fell to the ground with blood gushing out of their mouths. They trembled for a few seconds before losing their lives and lying there motionless. "Damned deer demons." Suing gritted his teeth and said, "Men, bring me my bow." 2 personal guards immediately carried a huge bow made of pure iron over. The old general Suing suddenly pulled the bowstring and placed a specially made arrow about a meter long on the bow. In the blink of an eye, he shot it out. In the distant forest, a deer demon fell to the ground. The arrow pierced through her heart and nailed her to the rock behind her. "Good archery, old general." Lin Muyu couldn't help but cheer. Even Wei Chou couldn't help but feel his blood boil. Old general's archery is godly, truly admirable. Suing smiled faintly. "You flatter me, Major General." Suing hasn't had any great achievements in this life. "The only thing I've learned is my arm strength. With this iron bow, I've fulfilled my wish to defend the Empire's borders." Wei Chou also took out his demon-devouring bow and shot a few arrows consecutively, killing the few Nagas that were climbing at the edge of the city. He only shot at their eyes and necks where there were no scales. His archery skills were also extraordinary. Su Ying's eyes went wide as he looked at Wei Chou in a new light. Who would have thought there would be such an archery expert in the Imperial Guard? This old man is truly in awe. Lin Muyu's gaze was fixed on the densely packed demon army below the city. "Are they going to keep attacking?" "Yes." Tang Jin said, "They use the snake men as shields, but the true killing force is the deer demons. Those repulsive deer demons have extremely accurate archery skills. Half of our soldiers who died in battle were killed by their arrows. Don't we have another way?" "Yes, let's go out and fight." Tang Jin let out a bitter laugh, pointed to the distance and said, "Young general, look at that valley." When General Yuan Xia was in command, he ordered the army to leave the city to fight. It was in that valley that they were besieged by more than 150,000 demon clan soldiers. Unfortunately, not a single one of our 70,000 soldiers survived. They were all buried outside the pass. Outside the city, the Naga army was still attacking fiercely. Many of the Nagas used iron hooks on their hands and used the hooks to dig into the dilapidated outer walls of the demon-subduing pass. Step by step, they climbed up the walls until it looked like there were countless insects crawling on them. They were densely packed as they fiercely attacked the city. Wei Chou felt his scalp go numb. He said in a low voice, "Commander, if this goes on, I'm afraid the demon-subduing mountain pass won't last more than a few days." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded and said with a heart full of worries, "Let's go back to the main camp. Send more people to guard the city. We must not lose it." "Yes, young general." Returning to the main tent, everyone sat by the sand table with frowns on their faces. Lin Muyu was also silent, fiddling with the exquisite gold ornament on the hilt of the dragon spirit sword. Tang Jin cupped his fists and said, "Young general, being so passive will only cause more and more casualties and lower morale. Does the young general have a countermeasure?" "Not at the moment." Lin Muyu shook her head and her gaze fell on Su Ying. "Old General Su has dealt with the demon clan before. You should know how weak they are, right?" Su Ying said in a low voice, "Last time, when the demon clan's army of 300,000 invaded the central plains, it was Divine Marquis Xing Yifan who used a stratagem to lure the demon clan army into open terrain. Then, he used the Empire's 200,000 heavy cavalry to cut the demon clan army into pieces. But, we don't have that many heavy cavalry right now, so this method won't work." Wei Chou looked at Lin Muyu and asked, "Old General Su has already said it." "Commander, what are you thinking about?" Lin Muyu frowned and said, "I'm thinking that the demon clan's losses aren't small either. What do they want from us by risking their lives like this? If they want to conquer Lanyan City, their military strength isn't enough." A Tianchong captaincy gnashed his teeth. "These demons aren't humans to begin with. Who cares what they want? As soldiers of the Empire, the only thing we need to do is kill them all." Lin Muyu smiled. "That's true, but thanks to you and Xia, we don't have the strength to kill the hundreds of thousands of demon clan soldiers in front of us." "Then what does the young general think?" Su Ying asked. Lin Muyu lightly pressed the table and stood up. "Tomorrow, we'll attack with fire. Create a line of fire under the city walls and force the half-fox people out. I want to talk to their leader directly." "What?" The Tianchong army captaincy was dumbfounded. "Young general, you want to talk to the demon clan? Aren't you afraid that they'll charge you with treason?" Lin Muyu smiled. "Let them be. I can't do anything about it." That night, 10,000 soldiers entered the forest behind the pass to cut down dead trees and collect black beech oil. The black beech oil was produced from the black beech tree and would ignite upon contact with fire. It was a natural fire material. Although there wasn't much, it was enough to start a fire. The cold night wind blew over demon-subduing pass. It was especially cold. A bright moon hung high in the sky. The Naga army finally retreated like a receding tide, but they were replaced by a group of lizard men. There were about 10,000 of them, and their brown eyes glowed with a golden light under the moonlight. Their tongues flickered as they held a shield in one hand and a shovel in the other. They quickly arrived at the bottom of the city wall and started digging with their shovels. "Damn it." Su Ying stroked his white beard and coldly laughed. "This group of lizard men, are they trying to steal our people?" Lin Muyu used the moonlight to clearly see the appearance of the lizard men. That lizard head was extremely frightening, very frightening. But how could a head like that have any intelligence? She said, "The lizard men don't have this kind of intelligence. It must be the half-fox man commanding this battle." "Young general, what should we do?" Su Ying asked. "How deep is the foundation of demon-subduing pass?" "About 20 meters. "That's good. Let them dig. Tomorrow, we'll fill it up with rolling stones." "Yes." The night was cold. Lin Muyu wrapped her cloak tightly around herself and gazed into the distance. The western border of the empire had built a great wall. It passed through the steep mountain ridges like a long dragon. This was probably the biggest reason why the demon clan could not advance east. Demon Subduing Pass was located on the flattest part of this great wall, blocking the demon clan's invasion. You guys go back. I'll continue patrolling. Lin Muyu said. Yes, young general. Su Ying, Tang Zhen, Wei Chou, and the others all returned to camp. Lin Muyu carried the dragon spirit sword and walked along the pass. After walking for a few li, she arrived at the top of the mountain ridge. Looking to the west, she saw a clear light. The endless forest was like an ocean breeding this group of demon clan. In fact, from Lin Muyu's point of view, this group of demon clan was more like half-beastmen. They were neither human nor beast, which was quite pitiful. But what did this group of demon clan want to do? Looking down at the distance between the wall and the ground, which was about 30 meters, Lin Muyu muttered to herself. She took a deep breath and looked at the surrounding guards. The guards also looked at her. Young general, you want to go west? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. Stand guard here and wait for my return. Don't act rashly. Yes. Leaping into the darkness, a faint golden light blossomed in the air. The gourd vines quickly wrapped around the city, reducing the impact that Lin Muyu received. However, jumping from a height of 30 meters was still a little scary. Her whole body rolled into the wild grass with a paw sound, and her knees hurt. She stood up with a whimper, sheathed the dragon spirit sword, and strode into the forest, disappearing from the sight of the group of guards in the blink of an eye. Not long after, the main camp of the demon clan was in front of her. However, there were very few lights in the camp. This was because the snake people, lizard men, and bear men were all afraid of fire. Only the half-fox and deer demons did not have a natural fear of fire. Lin Muyu walked carefully, avoiding the camp of a group of snake people. The fierce attack during the day had also resulted in many casualties. At this moment, they were receiving treatment. The treatment method was some medicinal herbs and ancient witchcraft. Lin Muyu really did not understand it. The camps of the demon clan were all over the forest, just like their way of life. Lin Muyu walked for nearly 5 kilometers, and finally, there was a dim light coming from the forest in front of her. When she got closer, she realized that there were actually tents here. Tents made of gray cloth were scattered all over the forest. Rustling sounds came from not far away, and a black shadow was slowly moving in the forest. Lin Muyu could not help but nervously hold on to her longsword, feeling her way along the way. Just as he was about to get close, Lin Muyu suddenly leaped forward, and with a twist of her martial spirit, numerous gourd vines rose from the ground, and in the blink of an eye, they wrapped around the black figure. Lin Muyu pounced forward and covered the other party's mouth. She drew her sword, and the blade of the sword, which was shrouded in flames, was placed on the other party's neck. She whispered, "Don't scream, or else I'll kill you." However, under the light of the dragon spirit sword, Lin Muyu saw that the person in front of her was a young girl. She looked a little coquettish, with a pair of fox ears on her head and a fluffy tail swaying behind her. She looked at Lin Muyu in horror and struggled with all her might, but she could not break free from the tough gourd vines. Lin Muyu was startled. She had never thought that the half-fox people would have women. However, thinking about it, how could they reproduce without women? She couldn't help but laugh at herself. "If you don't say anything, I'll let go of you. Otherwise, I'll kill you," he said coldly. "If you agree, then your head is up." The half-fox girl quickly nodded her head, and Lin Muyu let go of her and asked, "Who are you?" The half-fox girl's eyes widened, and she said in an indistinct voice, I'm the Saintess Maid, Saintess. And, the endless forest fire god sect Saintess." Lin Muyu was at a loss, and said, "Tell me, the demon race has been dormant for several decades, why did they suddenly attack the human empire?" A trace of panic flashed through the girl's eyes, and she shook her head. I can't say, or else I'll be betraying the saintess. Are you going to say it or not? Lin Muyu's sword was pressed against her snow-white neck. The girl closed her eyes, and tears flowed down. Her tail swayed back and forth, and her ears trembled. She cried and said, "Kill me, it's a pity that Hong Luo can no longer serve the saintess, truly unyielding." Lin Muyu sighed. Chapter 282. Then why did you come out so late at night? Lin Muyu changed the topic and asked another question. The girl named Hong Luo had tears flowing down her face. She blinked her eyes at Lin Muyu and actually asked, "Who are you? Why should I tell you?" "Me?" Lin Muyu smiled brightly. "Oh, I am hunting in the mountains." Hong Luo's eyes were red. "You're lying. The insignia on your collar is the insignia of a general of the Qin Empire. Moreover, there are so many stars. You must be a high-ranking official." "You? Who are you?" "I am the one interrogating you, not you interrogating me." Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold as she said, "Speak, why did you leave the camp and come to the wilderness?" Hong Luo didn't say anything. Tears flowed down her face, but her hands moved behind her back as if she was hiding something. Lin Muyu lightly circulated her energy and the gourd vine flipped over. The thing that Hong Luo was trying to hide in her sleeve fell onto the grass with a plop. Lin Muyu picked it up and saw that it was 2 remnant scrolls. On the top of the scrolls were the words, "Cosmic Seal." She couldn't understand the rest of the words. Lin Muyu was stunned. "What is this?" Hong Luo began to cry, "Give it back to me, give it back to me." Her voice was too loud. The voice of the Yao came from the distance. "Who is it?" "There is someone in the forest. Let's go take a look." With a pa sound, Lin Muyu knocked Hong Luo out with a clean palm strike and placed the cosmic seal into his cosmos sack. Then, he picked up Hong Luo and activated the falling star steps, heading straight for the city pass. In less than 10 minutes, he arrived at the place he had come from. With a low shout, the gourd vine flew up and wrapped around the stone walls, bringing him quickly to the top of the city wall. The guards were startled. With the light of the torches, they saw that Lin Muyu had returned with a young fox girl. They couldn't help but laugh. "Young general has returned from hunting?" Lin Muyu was extremely embarrassed and didn't know how to explain. She said, "Pay attention to the surroundings." "Yes, young general." When he carried Hong Luo into the central tent, Wei Chou, Su Ying, Tang Zhen, Xiahou Sang, and the others had all arrived. Looking at Hong Luo lying on the bed, their gazes were all cold. Su Ying cupped his fists and said, "Young general, apart from the barracks concubines, no females are allowed in the imperial camp. This young fox girl is indeed beautiful, but young general shouldn't break the rules because of this." Lin Muyu explained somewhat awkwardly, "Old General Su, you're thinking too much. Just now, I spied on the demon race's camp and captured this young girl from the fox race. It wasn't for anything else. I just wanted to obtain some useful information from her." "If that's the case." Su Ying smiled and said, "This old man has thought too much. Please forgive me, young general." "It's fine. Wake her up and interrogate her." "Yes." Wei Chou walked forward, his fingertips infused with battle qi. He lightly pressed on Hong Luo's forehead and she immediately woke up. She stared dumbfoundedly at the group of people around her, her face pale. You indiscriminately slaughter the innocent. Give me back the scrolls, give me back the scrolls." "What scrolls?" Wei Chou was stunned. Lin Muyu took out the 2 scrolls and smiled helplessly. "I don't know what's written, let's see how we interrogate her. She won't say anything and won't tell me the true reason the demon race attacked Demon Subduing Pass." "That's easy." Xiahou Sang laughed as he walked forward, his eyes full of lewdness. "I haven't played with the fox race yet." Hong Luo was at a loss of what to do. Her tears fell again as she looked at Lin Muyu, crying, "That human, since you kidnapped me and brought me here, you must protect me." You can't," Lin Muyu leaned on her long sword. But you won't tell me why the demon race attacked demon subduing pass. As long as you tell me, I will guarantee your safety. How about it? 2 lines of tears hung on Hong Luo's beautiful face. She closed her eyes and reached out to untie her clothes. Half of her snow-white bosom was revealed. She closed her eyes and cried, Hong Luo will never betray the saintess. You evil humans want to take away Hong Luo's chastity. Then hurry up. I'm not afraid of you. Wei Chou was stunned. Commander, what should we do? Xiahou Sang smiled. What else can we do? We'll talk after we're done, Lin Muyu coughed. Xiahou Sang, stop. Forget it. Since she would rather die than speak, then even if you took her body, it would be meaningless. Go down. Xiahou Sang said unwillingly, but it can boost morale, my lord. What's the use of boosting morale? Remember, you are a soldier of the Empire. In my tent, no one is allowed to be promiscuous. Do you understand? Yes, my lord. Lin Muyu looked coldly at Hong Luo and said, I'll have to trouble you for a bit. I'll temporarily imprison you in the demon subduing pass camp. I'll decide how to deal with you after this war is over. Hong Luo looked at her in a daze, wanting to say something but hesitating. The next day, as expected, the Naga army of nearly 40,000 madly attacked the city. The fierce battle lasted for an entire morning. Both sides suffered losses, but Lin Muyu also saw through it. As long as the imperial army did not leave the city, the demon race could do nothing to them. In terms of siege ability, the demon race was simply too inferior. They didn't even have scaling ladders and only relied on their most primitive beast instincts to attack the city. They were immediately frightened out of their wits by Lin Muyu's fire attack. It would be a wonder if this kind of army could conquer demon subduing pass. In the afternoon, a conch horn sounded in the distance. The Naga army once again retreated like the tide. About half an hour later, a man holding a white flag rode over from the distance. He was a man of the fox race. He also had fox ears and a tail, but his tail was divided into 2. He rode a fine horse and wore armor. He looked up at the city and shouted from afar, I am the envoy of the fox race. Someone who can speak. Lin Muyu turned and stood on the battlement, her cloak flying. She smiled and said, I am General Lin Muyu. Speak. The man of the fox race looked up at Lin Muyu and said, Last night, you kidnapped one of our fox race women. Is this true? Yes, so what? The man of the fox race gritted his teeth, Lin Muyu, my army has decided to stop the war. Are you willing? You want to stop the war just because you want to. What do you take the Qin Empire for? Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. Then what do you want? I want to meet the saintess of the fox race to discuss the matter of stopping the war. Okay. The man of the fox race replied without thinking. 2 hours later, a mile away from the city gate, the saintess will naturally wait for you. It depends on whether you have the guts to come. Remember to bring Hong Luo with you. Yes, I will go. Lin Muyu turned around and jumped off the battlement. She patted the mud off her knees. Wei Chou said lightly, Commander, isn't it too risky? You are going to negotiate with them alone? It doesn't matter. Just lead 100 people and follow me. Yes. The gate of the city gate slowly opened. Lin Muyu carried the dragon spirit sword and rode out of the city. At the same time, she led a horse with the fox race girl Hong Luo tied to it. As soon as she got out of the city, she smelled an extremely fishy smell. After fighting for more than 10 days, the corpses under the city gate had begun to rot. It was the beginning of spring, and flies were flying everywhere. In a few days, these corpses would definitely rot. If they were not buried in time, it would lead to a plague. Wei Chou, Xiahou Sang, and the others led 100 elite Imperial Army cavalrymen and followed closely behind. The old General Suing was sitting on top of the city gate. Looking at the figures of the young people from afar, Suing couldn't help but stroke his beard and smiled. The younger generation is really formidable. They are more courageous than others. A mile outside the city, after Lin Muyu dismounted with Hong Luo, a group of people slowly came from afar. After stopping in the distance, a girl wearing a fiery red long-sleeved dress got off the horse and walked over alone. Her appearance was elegant, but she was also from the fox race. Behind her were 3 tails that were wrapped in flames. This made Lin Muyu think of Tang Xiaoxi. However, after Tang Xiaoxi transformed into a 9-tailed demon fox, she was much more beautiful and imposing than this saintess. Saintess, it's all because of Hong Luo's carelessness. Hong Luo cried from afar. Are you all right, Hong Luo? The saintess frowned and asked. I'm fine. It's just that the dossier was taken away by this person. What? The dossier was taken away? The saintess gritted her teeth. Lin Muyu let go of her hand, letting Hong Luo go back. She raised her hand to pull out the dragon spirit sword and propped it on the ground. She said, You're the saintess of the Skyblaze sect, right? Now can you tell me why your demon race attacked the human race's territory? Isn't it good that everything was peaceful before? Is it good? The saintess's eyes were filled with killing intent. She said, You sent an army to hunt down our 9-tailed fairy fox, and this is called peaceful? 9-tailed fairy fox? Lin Muyu was startled. It's the 9-tailed demon fox, isn't it? Even if we humans hunt down the 9-tailed demon fox, what does it have to do with you? The saintess suddenly shook her sleeves. Flames lingered around her body, and the 3 tails behind her rapidly burst into flames. Her expression was even somewhat sinister. She sneered and said, The 9-tailed fairy fox is the god that our Skyblaze sect believes in. Why do you think? Wait. Lin Muyu opened her hand and said, Don't be in a hurry to act. I'm not the one who hunts down the 9-tailed fairy fox. On the contrary, I'm the one who protects her. Moreover, Xiaoxi is my best friend. How could I kill her? You know the 9-tailed fairy fox? Nonsense. Her name is Tang Xiaoxi, one of the successors of the 7 Seas Tang sect. You attacked the demon subduing pass without understanding anything. You were too reckless. The saintess actually revealed an ashamed expression. She said, My lord, if you know the 9-tailed fairy fox, can you let me meet her? What do you mean? Lin Muyu asked. It's like this. The saintess explained, the Skyblaze sect has waited for the 9-tailed fairy fox for nearly 10,000 years. Our only mission is to help the 9-tailed fairy fox ascend to the heavenly realm. If my lord knows the 9-tailed fairy fox, please invite her to see me. This little girl will offer you the 3 fire god seal fragments. The fire god seal fragments? Lin Muyu was stunned. Yes, the one you took away was the 10th star universe seal. I still have 2 here, the 11th god seal and the 12th god seal. My lord, do you know the fire god seal? Lin Muyu was flabbergasted. After a few seconds of silence, she said, On the human continent, the fire god seal is also known as the fire fox seal. It's the unique technique of the 7 Seas Tang sect. The saintess was speechless. However, everyone thought that the fire fox seal only had 9 heavens. They didn't know that there were 3 fragments, a total of 12 heavens. It was hard to imagine how strong Tang Xiaoxi would be if she learned the complete 12 heavens of the fire god seal. Thinking of this, Lin Muyu actually became a little excited. The 9-tailed fairy fox was not a demon, but a god. Tang Xiaoxi's transformation was not a demon, but an immortal transformation. You're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.